Okay, it's 6:03. We'll call the regular meeting of council this April 4th, and it's 6:03. We'll call the meeting to order. I will act as chair. Dion and Raincoast will act as recorder. We have a quorum present, so I'll call the meeting to order. And first item is a motion to move into closed.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. So the closed portion of the meeting. Sorry, the closed portion of the meeting will discuss personal matters and labor relations and legal matters. The meeting be closed to the public on the basis of matters to be considered under the following sections of the community charter where required. The council does consider the matters could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. And that's section 90.1. A part of the council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to or is one of the following: C, labor relations or employee relations; K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provisions of the municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that in the view of the council could reasonably expect it to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. And L, the receipt of advice that is subject to the solicitor-client privilege, including receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And N, the consideration of whether the council meeting should be closed under a provision of the subsection or subsection 2. Council will reconvene the open portion of the meeting at 7 p.m. To consider the balance of the agenda. So with that,
Could we introduce Staff Sergeant Bradley?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Staff Sergeant Gareth Bradley, and we've invited him to the closed portion of our meeting. So thank you very much. Have we moved into closed? Marina, open things up. Thank you. Okay, welcome back to the open portion of the meeting. We have nothing to report out from the closed portion of the meeting. With that, we'll move right to the adoption of the agenda. And I'll just open it up for any additions to the agenda. Or may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Before we go to that, we have nothing to report out, but we haven't finished the closed meeting.
True enough.
We might have something to report out later. Okay.
Okay, right. Okay, with that, we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Do we have a second or a motion to adopt the agenda?
Yeah.
Second.
Second.
Okay, discussion,
Yeah.
additions.
Put forward that we all agreed on this, that we add first a delegation from Randy Deal.
Yes, Randy Deal from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. And it would be nice to add him up front if we could, just so that he doesn't.
That's a good suggestion. We rearrange the order to have him as the first item. Yeah.
Just ahead of public participation.
Okay, all right.
As a delegation.
As a delegation.
As a delegation. Yeah.
Okay, any other additions? Councilor Brown?
Could we strike section 272, the First Nations land acknowledgement? We voted on that last meeting and have that in place. So okay. 272 is redundant. And also the motion C3 is actually part of the previous motion. It wasn't a choice of those were options that to be considered. So we could discuss that motion in more detail, but I don't believe that it's useful at this point. It's not part of this agenda.
Okay.
So we're removing C3 and 9, section 9. That's NC3 and 9. Item 272, action item 272.
So just to be clear, Michael, you're saying remove 10C3 from the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. And also on the action log
272.
272.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But I just have one more, Ken.
Yes.
On C2, the recommendation that's typed in here is not the correct recommendation. That is the closed meeting discussion. The update on the purchasing policy on page 15, that resolution is in the wrong place. So can we just strike that resolution?
Okay. So we'll strike C2.
Just the resolution. We still have the update on the purchasing policy, which starts on page 15. But this resolution came from a different report. Shouldn't be here. No problem. Oh, lots of stuff flying around.
Okay, Councillor Ryder.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, adoption of the agenda with the changes?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay,
Yeah.
opposed, motion carried. Okay, we'll move right to Randy Deal. Is Randy online?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I am. You can't see me?
Hi, Randy, welcome.
Hi. So should I just jump right in, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, jump right in and.
Okay.
Once again,
First of
welcome.
all, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be a late addition to your agenda. I know that's not always the best, but just wanted to get things, wanted to meet you as soon as I could. I have talked to a few of you by telephone and through email, but I think it's really important for my credibility that you get to see me at least virtually as soon as possible. So that's why I kind of pushed the envelope a little bit on this one. What I wanted to talk to you about as well is I wanted to give you a little bit more background on my career and what I do. I'd like to give you some terms of reference about this project that I've been requested to embark on. And I'd like to identify an orientation workshop date so we can start planning towards that. We had tried earlier, but there was just too many problems with a short notice and people being busy at this time of year. So those are the three things I'd like to talk about, and any questions you might have of me as well. I'll just start off with my background if I could. I'm from Kamloops. I'm calling from Kamloops right now. I've been here for about almost 30 years, but I've lived all throughout British Columbia, including Victoria, including Garibaldi Station, which is just outside of Whistler in the 1970s, in Vancouver, and lots of little towns in northern BC. I have 37 years of experience in the public sector and 11 years as a management consultant. I'm kind of semi-retired, and I was going to hang up my shingle this year, but decided that this looks really interesting and I'd like to take it on. I started my career with a Bachelor of Social Work. I was a child protection worker, a family counselor. I changed professions after about 6-7 years of doing that, and went back and got my master's degree in community and regional planning. Since then, I've worked as a whole variety of positions, including a BC Parks planner, a social housing planner, and director of planning for Kamloops, and the chief administrative officer for Kamloops. My 11 years in management consulting was something I always had a dream about doing, but you can't really pull that off unless you've got some experience. No one will hire you. So I waited until I was retired before I hung up my shingle. And I've done a lot of work on the management end for the private sector, nonprofit sector, Indigenous communities, and cities and towns throughout BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. It's been a really fun experience for me. Moving on a little bit about the terms of reference for this project. I have a contract with the provincial government to do this, which means is that I basically report to them and I take direction from them. However, I have a style that I think has always worked well for me, where I am collaborative and I want to work things out. And so your opinions and your views on things about how you want things to unfold are very important to me. But at the end of the day, I have to take my direction from Victoria. The project will last from now till the end of June. However, there is potential for an extension. If we do extend, it's going to really mess up my golf game, which can't actually take much damage, more damage than it already has. The other fundamental out of this is that I will only do this work if you want me to. And if something happens where I'm just not a good fit, I've got a thick skin, that's okay. You and I can just move on. What kind of services am I going to provide you? Well, my job is to provide you with support, guidance, and advice for staff and for council. For staff, it would be, if you so choose, I can help you with your recruitment process because you're down several staff. I will give some advice to staff when they ask for it, or if I see that they need it. And I also will do some team building if that's required. So those are the things I will do for the staff. For council, I will give you the best advice I can on legal issues, recruitment again, if you would like me to help you with that, governance principles, team building, and strategic planning. So at the end of this, one of the products that we could produce out of this, if we have the time and you want it, would be to produce a strategic plan. A lot of this stuff really probably can't take place until after your by-election, because we want to make sure that the new person is incorporated into the process. What I would like to do is hold 2 or 3 workshops with you in person. The first one being the orientation process, and that one would be to get to know each other, frame up the issues, and decide on a strategy for tackling issues as they come up. I'd like to have a workshop on governance, a separate one on governance principles and the legal requirements of a local government. And then another workshop on strategic planning. So there'll be 2 or 3 at least. And again, it depends on how things unfold and what you want or don't want. My approach and my style is very open. I want to make sure that everybody, including myself, approach this thing with open-mindedness. I always operate from a position of collaboration and respectfulness. So those are the 3 basic principles I work from, and those will be the 3 basic principles I will ask you to work from as well. The date for the orientation, I would like, if it's possible, to get this thing going next week. Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday are open for me, and I know we're just coming out of an Easter long weekend this week, so that it may be tough to even pull that off. So at that orientation meeting, my intention was to, I've given you the agenda for that, and feel free to, add or subtract as you like, but that's just to get the creative juices flowing. So if we could identify a date today, that would be extremely helpful for me to start making some plans to come down to beautiful Lions Bay. And that's basically it. If we could have some dialogue around the date for the orientation. If you have any questions of me, feel free to go at it.
I'm fine with either Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So
okay.
I don't know others at the table.
I'm pretty free next week, so yeah.
Thursday, Friday would be better, but I could probably make Wednesday work. So,
Councilor Ryder.
Okay.
Randy, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you
for joining in with us and for being brave enough to take this on. And our Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. And just to clarify, are you thinking of coming down?
Yes,
for our
I
first
am.
meeting?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
so we would need, I will do a PowerPoint for you and then start preparing the agenda, solidifying it. And again, it's important that you feel you have some opportunities to input on that agenda as well. But this basically provided you with a background on it.
So you're suggesting that we could also send you some input prior to the meeting as to what we want to discuss? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Okay, so from my perspective, either Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and I presume somewhere when everybody's done with work, 6 o'clock or something like that, or what is good for you?
I'm easy. I know that some of you are working during the day, so it's difficult for you to meet that. So it doesn't matter to me. I can work from 6 o'clock onward. We just need a facility to work in, and your chamber there looks just fine, if that's what you would like to do.
Okay, why don't we land on a day, Michael?
Wednesday 6 would work.
What date's that?
Wednesday 6.
Right.
So what date is that?
How about just as a sorry,
No, can't do that.
just a suggestion. What about Thursday?
Okay, hang on. We've got a beach ball committee meeting on the 12th, so that's out.
What day is that? Sorry, Bob.
Wednesday.
Thursday, I think is fine. Can't remember the climate action committee in my notes are sketchy.
Okay.
Does the afternoon work for anybody? Or?
Yeah, a beach ball committee's late.
Sounds like Thursday.
Sounds like Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
And what time Thursday would you like to start?
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock sounds fine. So I will probably, with your permission, like to come a little earlier and just meet some of the staff and get a lay of the land of Lions Bay and your city hall, if that's okay with you. It just helps me get orientated and sort out who the various parties are. So if that's okay with you, I'd like to come. I'll probably show up sometime around 2 or 3 if I can get through the Coquihalla snow.
Right, Mr. Miller, how's that work Thursday, 2 or 3 o'clock? Meet staff.
Staff.
Yeah, Randy would meet staff early, say 2 or 3 o'clock, and then meet with council at 6. That sounds good, Randy.
Okay, that's
2 or 3 o'clock, whatever works for you.
super.
So Randy, I just had one question
Sure.
as you were talking. You said something about that would be better done after the election. Could you
Yeah,
just go back to what workshops we should and shouldn't do?
well, I think
What
the
are we gonna hold up
orientation
for
one,
election?
I think we can do the orientation one up front and quickly, and just frame up some of the issues so that I can sort of get my mind turning around on some of these issues. And some agreement on the principles of how we're going to conduct those workshops. But I feel that the governance workshop and the strategic planning workshop should probably be put off until after the by-election and your new councillor is in the seat. But we can do a lot of other things before that.
Randy, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Will you also be joining us for meetings in any capacity?
No.
No, okay.
Yeah, no. As much as I love you guys, I'm not ready for that.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, I guess if there's no other questions.
anything else, Randy?
No, I think that's good, and feel free at any time to phone me. I'm pretty much, my phone is my office in a pocket, so you can pretty much get me at any time.
Okay, thank you very much for speaking with us and giving us the background on your career.
Thanks. Okay, we'll see you next Thursday.
Okay, we'll
Cheers,
see you next
my
Thursday.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the public portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to address the council before we move to the Zoom portion? The delegation, that will come after the 2-minute comments or questions. Oh, okay. Someone in the gallery, Marina, we can move to the online.
Eric, next.
Eric, if you'll unmute.
Yep, got it. Thank you. So good evening, everybody. It feels like I must be sounding like a broken record by right about now. Obviously, I think everyone is aware on what I'm about to speak to and about. Just to recap, it's been 2 months since Dave Butler has resigned. And after some communication on March the 9th, Ron, the CAO, sent an email saying they would accept a certificate from an architect or an engineer in place of getting a building inspector to look at different phases of construction and to approve. On March the 22nd, a certificate was sent for both lots on Kelvin Grove, and the engineer had approved this. Subsequent to that date, there have been 5 emails and 2 telephone calls were made to individuals on this group and in terms of the calls, and to an email to the entire group, and there has been no response. This has gone beyond unacceptable, seeing and experiencing, no reply from a mayor, from a council, from a CAO that we depend on. And I'll even go so far as to say it's potentially a dereliction of your fiduciary duties not to address these problems. I am not happy. I'm not getting answers. We are not getting answers. We've had various people reaching out to this group, and it's crickets most of the time. We get a response. We hear, some good news relative to the certificate being available. We even see a legal opinion posted in the village update, reinforcing that that's still acceptable. And once we do put forward a certificate to continue our projects and our construction, we get nothing, and it's entirely unacceptable.
Okay.
I can answer. Mr. Miller. I haven't seen it. I'll find it. I haven't seen it.
All right, Eric, I can, obviously the frustration is there. I've driven by your site and unfortunately we didn't connect, but not that I would be the one to move your project forward. That'd have to be done at a staff level, but I can sense the frustration and obviously we've been understaffed and we're working on that. So Mr. Miller says he will attend to that tomorrow. Is that tomorrow? So
I mean, I understand, Mary Berry, that you've been understaffed, but how much time does it take to answer an email or return a phone call? Right? I mean, I sent it out to the entire group. Everyone on the council here was part of the message, including yourself and the CAO. And I get, that there's a lot going on in the village, but I'm sure you understand the cost that this bears upon the, ourselves as homeowners and the potential tax base that we're going to create once the project is done. Delaying this not only costs us money, but it also costs the village a tax base sooner than later. And that would arrive obviously from the property taxes that we would pay and other charges that we would pay to the municipality. So, I mean, I get that you are understaffed, but this isn't a difficult, situation. The ground rules have been laid. All we need to get is someone to read that certificate for both lots and approve it or not. I mean, it's there. It's all there with you. We're trying to make this as easy as possible.
okay. Eric, if Ron doesn't follow up tomorrow, you can phone me. And I say you can phone me because after the last time you spoke, I went to staff the next morning and asked for the phone numbers of all the individuals and was told I couldn't get the phone numbers, I would have to apply to freedom of information. So that's a frustration that I've ran into is not being able to get things done. And I apologize for the delay, but I think Mr. Miller has said he will move forward on it. And if he doesn't, you can phone me, Eric, because I don't have your phone number. And wasn't able to get your phone number when I requested it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we went on vacation for a little over 2 weeks, and that's why I couldn't reach out to you. We just returned, so I've been kind of emailing in the meantime, and hopefully we can get this resolved, and hopefully the process moving forward is a lot smoother because everyone's ready to go.
Yeah, totally understand, and I'm from the private sector, and when something needs to get done, I pick up the phone, I get it done. In this instance, I could not get your phone number to phone you, so I drove by your lot and no one was there. It was an afternoon about 1 o'clock, and unfortunately, the crew was gone. I did drive to some of the other sites that I saw and talked with the foreman, but we'll move it forward. And if Mr. Miller doesn't get it done tomorrow, like I say, phone me and I'll give you my number now.
I'll reach out to you. I'll reach out to you regardless, Mayor Barry. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Could I give a comment? Eric, I'm sorry for the situation you're in. It should not take that long at all. And please do keep us as a council apprised as well if things don't happen to your satisfaction here at this 11th hour.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Maria, next question,
Next we
please.
have Doug.
Doug, you're up. Doug, we can't hear you. You may have to unmute.
Can you hear us now?
What's happening?
It has
You'll have to
a
turn
real
your
echo. You might have to turn.
You'll have to turn your computer down.
Okay. Is that
You
okay?
have two computers going, move them apart.
Sorry,
Yes.
Go ahead.
apologies. Hi, it's Gail Craig. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. In the village update of May the 24th, there are links to legal opinions for standing committees, the finance committee, and for the building bylaw inspections. The next section in that same village update is titled Authority of the Acting CFO CAO. And there is no legal opinion linked for that section about that authority. This section of financial and administration duties in the village update refers to community charter sections 147 for the CAO and 149 for the finance officer. However, these community charter sections 147 and 149 do not reference the authority to hire or ensuring sufficient staff for those duties, as the village update indicates. The community charter section 146 states that it's the council who must by bylaw establish its officer positions in relation to sections 147 for the CAO, 148 for the corporate officer, and 149 for the CFO. And council may by bylaw establish other officer positions and assign the powers, duties, and functions to all of its officers. And this is in the village officers bylaw number 494 and the related policies. The CAO section 147 states that council's bylaw establishes the powers, duties, and functions for the CAO, which includes overall management of the operation, implementing policies, programs, and directions of council, advising council of operations and affairs. In CAO Dijon's job description, posted in the December 20th, 2002 agenda package, statement states in item 7, the CAO recruits and hires employees, including without limitation, the financial officer, with the recommendation to council to appoint that person, which is pursuant to section 149 of the community charter, along with the same for the fire chief, to recommendation for council to appoint that person, and also for the hiring of the public works manager. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to the rest of my document here. I apologize. My first question is, will council please be providing the residents with the legal option for the stated authority of the acting CFO CAO, as was done for the other legal opinions posted for the other comments in that village update? And also, council, please advise, when did council establish the bylaw requirement as per the community charter in order to assign powers and duties for the new officer position of financial controller, as indicated by the hiring of Mr. Cherkoff in the same village update? And is there any reporting out from the March 31st closed meeting regarding this? Those are my questions.
Okay, that's quite a list. I guess I'll go back to April 24th, 2018 resolution from the council. And at that time, the council made a motion and approved the motion that the council appoint chief financial officer to the role of acting chief administration officer and corporate officer during any chief administration officer's vacancies, vacation, or sick time. So they basically gave the control at that time to the CAO. We've got a legal opinion from Lidstone and Company that references the CAO's ability and authority. And we also have within the CAO's contract that if we look back at CAO Tobin's contract, that all four councillors here at the table signed So all four of us signed and approved his contract. His contract. was
Point of order again, point of order.
Sorry, can I finish?
Releasing information from closed into open again, and it's highly inaccurate. Again,
We've talked about all of us.
You're out of
unanimously
order.
Approving that.
you are
Okay.
again releasing
We're being
information that is inaccurate and it's from closed.
Okay. So we unanimously approved CAO.
Point of order again, you are doing the same thing over again. You're releasing closed information into open.
Do we want
and
to
it's
discuss
inaccurate.
this and be open with our community or not? Or do we want to be obstructionist? Because this is why we are having trouble getting things done, why we're having difficulty retaining staff. We lost a good man in Anthony.
Point of order, you're speechifying again. This is not about being obstructionist. This is about following the law.
Okay, so we are following the law, Gail, and we have as I pointed out, resolution from 2018. We also have legal opinion from Lidstone and Company, and we also have the contracts from the CAO, and the contracts take precedent over the council because you can't write a contract and then override that. So in that contract, it gives authority. It gave the previous CAO authority to hire, and it gives the current CAO, acting CAO authority. So thank you very much.
Okay, can I comment on this?
Feel free.
Hire.
Sorry, Gail, you have more?
I just wanted to clarify. So you're saying that the CAO can hire without council's appointing?
That was it. That motion was approved in 2018. That gave them full authority. And that's what we've been acting on as the previous CAO's authority, as well as the Tobin's authority, and also the authority that was passed to Mr. Miller.
Mr. Tobin went to council to get appointment for the fire chief.
Which we've kept council apprised of the fire chief.
Fire chief is a required
Correct on that. That's required.
under the Fire Act.
Okay.
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 Can we move to the next question?
No, I'd like to say something.
Okay.
Neville, go ahead.
Okay, just a couple of things. What is not in the agenda tonight, because we didn't have the minutes, but should be reported out, is in the special council meeting. Council, and this was reported out, even though at the time it hasn't been, there was no one here because it was late at night, and as I said, it's not in the packet. Council reported out that, give me 1 second, council did not agree to the appointment of a CFO. That was in the special council meeting the 24th, that I can state because it was the reporting out. The real opinion you referred to.
So that council motion that was put forward, Neville put forward a motion to approve the.
And you're out of order again.
Then he-
Stick to the reporting out.
Again.
Stick to the reporting out.
I'm just answering your question. You put together a motion and then.
No, you're interrupting. You're interrupting again.
We have closed meetings and then we agree to the reporting out. I would like to report out something else. That's what you guys agreed to. That's all this public knowledge. Closed meeting is still closed meeting. Obey the rules.
Then let's move forward and let's empower our staff instead of trying to destroy them every week.
My
Okay.
only other
With
statement.
obstructionist and undermining.
I'm not going to get into it.
We have a
Can I just,
2-minute record.
Yes, and I want us to-
time.
and I want us to move on.
Yeah.
I'm going to respond to one other thing that you just stated, Ken. You spoke about a Lidstone legal opinion in this matter. I've never seen that. I don't believe that exists because I've never seen it.
Okay.
I take exception to that. I don't believe it exists because you haven't seen it. I don't believe that that's an acceptable.
I would like to.
Can we move on?
No.
I don't think we might have to the next question.
I would like to.
Sorry, we're going to move on. We have 2 minutes to each question. We're
I'd like to
beyond that.
Something that you said, which is mainly that contracts take authority over our bylaws and the community charter and the local government act. Give your head a shake. They do not.
Okay, Mr. Reuter, you'll have to follow the law as well, okay?
Yep.
There was a 2018 resolution which gave the CAO full authority. There was a legal opinion which gave the full authority. And now we're trying to destroy another CAO.
Debate and move on.
Okay, move
Why
on.
are you allowed to speak?
Move on, Marina.
Norma Rogers.
Okay, Norma, you're up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. That's a different. Thank you, council, for passing an improved bylaw that gives officers the ability to ticket repeat offenders who allow bears access to their garbage. Hopefully, we won't kill any bears this year, because that was unfortunate last year. I am concerned about the cost to terminate the former CAO without cause when 18 months remained on his contract. The contract payout will be based on De Jong's salary and longevity. He worked here for 7 years with an annual salary of about 140 grand. We can't afford a 6-figure amount, but we'll have to pay it. I'm sure a municipal lawyer vetted De Jong's contract, so it will be difficult to break and costly to negotiate. From the February 7 meeting minutes, we learned that council hired Carmen Overholt to evaluate De Jong's contract. His website describes Overholt as a senior litigation lawyer with extensive experience in all aspects of employment law. A specialist will charge significant legal fees to contest the CAO contract. I filed a Freedom of Information request March 13th, asking for the amounts on invoices issued by Overholt or other lawyers, paid or unpaid. The village replied that they will respond to my request no later than April 24th. However, legal fees are budget items and public record, so residents will eventually know how much council spent. The cost to dispute De Jong's contract will certainly exceed last council's budget for legal fees. With exceptional legal fees and CAO payout, I wonder what services will be cut or taxes raised to pay for the decision to terminate De Jong. Also, CAO Miller has mentioned consultations with a lawyer to make decisions, such as whether Rose Dudley's opinion letter to council is defamatory. He is spending our tax dollars to silence a 50-year resident with a long history of volunteering for the village. Does anyone at the table have comments they can share with residents?
Any comments?
I think those are very valid points, Norma. I obviously cannot comment on any legal matter that you mentioned because I'm not aware of it. If I was, probably couldn't. But yeah, I do acknowledge all the other things that you mentioned seem to be accurate. And why the freedom of information taking time, I have no idea. It shouldn't need to. And they'll be released, and these numbers will start to be released in the next AP report, or whatever we change the name to now. John changing the names, whatever that report that comes out quarterly.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, thank you, Norma. Specifically to your comment about what occurred in the last meeting about the pulling of a piece of correspondence by a resident under the rubric of defamation. I opposed that at the time. I think it had no basis. It was a bullying tactic. I think residents should always have the ability to write in, to speak and be heard. And I was appalled by that. And I'm just going to speculate that if any legal opinion was sought, that it will not support that action. And I would hope to see nothing like this ever occur again in this chamber.
Thank you.
Councillor Brown?
I think the requirements for defamation are very clear, and that's spreading of inaccurate information that would have an impact on individuals' reputation. And I think it's very appropriate that if the CAO deems that there's potentially something defaming, that be checked out and pursued, because I think it's responsible of the village, if there is something that's potentially defamatory, that if you've spread something that you know is potentially defamatory, you join that defamation. And so I think it's important that that this matter be clarified and resolved, and if there is and if the information is in fact false and is being spread, then that should be determined and dealt with.
It was opinion, Michael? So you want to silence residents' opinions
No, there's no.
under
no
legal cover?
There is, excuse me, no, there is no desire to
And yet you support it.
deal with opinion. There's if someone wishes to put forward an opinion that is very, very appropriate. If there is information that appears to be incorrect and is harmful to the reputation of individuals, then it can be defaming and needs to be determined.
That was not the case in this.
Okay, Norma, I'll just comment on the former CAO. As you know, it was a unanimous decision for us to move in a different direction. So all four council members moved on that decision, and we now are in a position where we need to be supporting our staff, and we need to be not
You need to
undermining
be
them.
supporting your residents.
So we need to be supporting our staff. We don't want to be demoralizing them and hurting the morale. So I would ask that the citizens get behind our staff and start to give them encouragement, because they're doing a great job. So thank you.
I would ask
Marina.
that council get behind residents.
And that's what we're doing, Norma.
No,
Marina, can you please move to the next question? Thank you, Norma. Tomorrow.
Start video.
Tomorrow we can't hear you. You may be muted.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a follow-up and kind of echoes some issues that have already been raised. So I have a question. It's based on the legal letter from Young and Anderson dated March 21st, 2023 to Mayor Barry circulating throughout the village. We know that the office of CAO and CFO are not currently legally occupied, as they have not been appointed by council. These positions are currently vacant per the legal determination provided to you on March 21st, 2023. Essentially, this means a personal friend of the mayor has been allowed to take control of the village, and gutted admin office staff have signing authority over our village bank accounts without holding valid office or having recognized official standing by council. My question is, what does council plan to do about this extraordinary and unacceptable situation? And why are you waiting for 2 weeks to take action to protect our village?
All right,
Thank you.
Samara, this again is something that undermines our staff and the morale. So just to be clear, Ron Miller's not a friend.
It is not a staff.
He's a professional.
This is something that was shared, and I just,
Samara,
this is a
thank
very.
you've made your point, and
Ken, why don't you just let her finish?
This is a very serious situation. We have a vacancy of our 2 officer roles, as you know, from the letter that you received that is circulating throughout the village. Okay.
which letter is that, Samara?
When CAO Tobin resigned, he left that office
You're
vacant.
referencing a letter. What is the
Never
letter?
replaced that appointment, nor did council ever delegate the responsibility of that appointment. As CAO, as you know, per your legal letter from Young Anderson, a CAO cannot appoint a CFO. Council did not appoint a CAO, and council did not appoint a CFO. So those 2 offices, CAO and CFO, are vacant. My goodness, council as a whole, you need to act and respond, because you're out of bounds.
Tomorrow, okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll just respond. Ron Miller's not a friend. He's been a professional who shares the same values as myself and Mr. Tobin's values of respect, fiscal responsibility, openness, transparency, and good government.
Has not been
Okay,
appointed
and
by.
sorry, Tamara, you had your chance.
Personal
You- you
relationship.
might-
It is council that needs to appoint the
So,
CAO and the CFO. It doesn't matter.
and Tamara, you may not have heard earlier, okay, I read that April 24th, 2018, there was a council resolution which
You know,
gave the
folks,
CAO full authority.
You
Okay,
have
so-
a
And we've also got legal opinions from
dated
Lidstone that counter that. Okay.
2023. You have a legal
All right.
determination rendered to you, billed to the village of
Tamara,
Bay, dated.
thank you very much for your comments. Can we move on to the next? This isn't being very productive.
Just, Neville, you got something?
Can we have, I think we should have a special meeting of council to discuss just this one matter, this idea that keeps coming up.
Well,
I'd like to see if, can I ask you to call a special meeting of council for us to
this
discuss?
particular item I've said, and I'll, if you look at April 24th, 2018 resolution, you'll see the full authority was given. You'll see the full authority was given.
We have never delegated.
Okay. So
Ken,
let's be perfectly honest here. If we continue to berate our staff and challenge their authority, okay, this is just going to make it more difficult for us to operate and get down to business. Okay.
No, just a minute. I'd like to comment on this. This is, if I understand this.
We've got 2 minutes for comments, so one comment and then we'll move.
Yeah,
on.
okay.
can I have a response to my suggestion to have a special council meeting for this, please?
We're going to have a meeting next week, okay, with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and Randy can give us some guidance on this, okay? I think that we can see the dysfunction within this council, and it's affecting the staff as well.
Can I get a word in here, please?
Yes,
On this.
Councillor.
It seems to me that what Tamara is referring to is a legal opinion, if I understood that correctly, that now seems to be circulating in the village, as she put it. And I think we can all guess what that is. And it goes to the authority of the acting CAO, CFO to even be in this room to begin with. And I think Neville's suggestion that I think it's just time for this council to come clean and do things the right way, and that we have to have a special meeting on this immediately. This is a fundamental question as to how we function as a council lawfully. This has, and I don't want to hear about obstructionism again. This has to do with operating lawfully, and that we must have a special.
All right, stick to the question.
Thank you for your introduction, that I want to have a special council meeting. And so I'd like to put a motion forward right now that we have.
Your
Orders of the day were.
we're in the Q&A portion of the meeting, okay? And we've got staff here and we're belittling them again. We're challenging.
No, we're trying to ask.
Can we move to the next?
Take one more person and.
Yeah, one more question, then I think we're gonna have to move on, folks.
We have Melissa.
Melissa.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, hi, my name is Melissa. I'm speaking on behalf of numerous Lions Bay residents regarding correspondence to council included in this meeting agenda. There is a letter from a resident stating that the mayor said municipal affairs will pay for the by-election. This notion was also made by Councillor Reuter at the last council meeting. I reviewed the video clips in the resident's letter, and never once did I hear the mayor, or anyone else for that matter, state that the municipal affairs would pay for the by-election. The wording was around how municipal affairs would be paying for some assistance, excuse me, but not about paying for a by-election. The approximate by-election cost of $30,000 to $35,000 is a burden on us, the taxpayers. No one sitting around the council table should be held accountable for this expense. This brings me to a letter written by a resident whose resignation after 4 weeks made this by-election necessary. It also necessitated a shift in priorities and resources for our council and staff. While Norm doesn't have time to fulfill his oath to serve as councillor, he appears to have time to write lengthy letters to criticize those who remain working diligently to serve this village. It doesn't seem to have occurred to him that if the village wasn't so busy working on the upcoming by-election to replace him, they would have more time and money to focus on other village matters, including maybe some of those concerns in his letters. It's important to correct misinformation written in this council package around the cost burden of the by-election, the cost of which is unapologetically ours, this village's. I'd like to thank Mayor Barry and all the councillors for their time and dedication to serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could I just speak to the item that there was confusion regarding the payment from the ministry. And I believe that it was difficult at the time to understand what the ministry had committed to. And my understanding from day one was that the village would be responsible for all costs to do with the by-election. My understanding was that the Ministry of Municipal Affairs was prepared to provide assistance to the village in other matters, and we have Mr. Deal contracted to do so. So I think hopefully that clarifies the confusion that did occur. And it was a very confusing time because we were talking about a multiple number of things and it was under quite emotional times.
Okay.
Can I comment on this? The only confusion here is as to the facts. On February 15th, Ken, you claimed multiple times, and anyone can go watch this in the video, that the ministry will pay for our election. Then you walked that back in a previous meeting, and it's absolutely stunning. It's there for everybody to watch. It's very clear. Please let me finish. And there's just no question that you then stated the opposite of that recently in a council meeting. It's there for everyone to see. Those are the facts. And
I'll just comment with this rest.
And can I just say, I'm not finished, that during that meeting, when you stated on February 15th that the ministry would pay, I gave you a chance to walk that back. I said, I am surprised to hear this. This is as completely at odds with everything I've heard from the ministry, but yet you doubled down and stated it again. So there is no way to walk this back. You said this and it wasn't true, apparently, as we now find out.
Okay, I'll just say that, look, I'm happy that we have Randy Deal coming to the village next week.
Absolutely.
To be able to sit down with council. If I said, I have always believed that we would pay for our own by-election and that the Ministry of Municipal Affairs would step in and provide us with an advisor. If I said otherwise, I apologize. I don't have a problem with that, but that's the way I've understood it all the way along. Okay, there's been a lot of discussion, but what I would like, I think all of us to think about is getting back to the business of the village. We need to focus on the business of the village. The business of the village is suffering and has suffered for months.
Absolutely.
Because of the way that our council interacts with each other and attacks each other.
Yes.
We need to be more productive.
And we need to be true orders and honest.
Can I finish? We need to be a little bit more proactive and interactive. And I'm thankful that Randy Deal is going to be coming next week.
Absolutely.
To sit with us. So can we move on? Councilor Broughton, can we move on to one final question? Norm? Sorry.
Yeah.
Could
Appreciate the time. Thanks.
Thank you.
The council for a few minutes here. I was originally going to ask two questions, but in light of resident Melissa's comments, I just wanted to be really clear. I wanted to get out of the way of change I couldn't align with, and I made that very clear to Ken. I found the approach to be quite radical, and I was worried it was going to be an expensive approach. I didn't see a spirit of collaboration. I didn't see respect for anyone in the room, especially staff, and I simply couldn't align myself with that. And unfortunately, it's unfolded even worse than I expected. My choice to resign, it's my right, and I shouldn't be beholden or have some financial implications hung over my head to be part of a volunteer board. So I do resent that comment, Melissa. In terms of my questions, I had two questions. One of them related to the CLAT building and the grant extension. I understood that Councillor Broughton suggested that a project manager had been hired for that project, and I'm very happy to hear that. I was curious when that decision was taken, who the project manager is, and when that project will get kicked off. My second question related to transparency and meeting minutes. I had reached out to Karen and she suggested that staff was working on getting minutes published, which is a charter requirement. We're 5 months in and we have no meeting minutes to review. So I was wondering if there was a date that council had in mind when those minutes would be published. Thank you.
Ron, got any answers?
Any comments?
Project manager was one question and minutes was the another.
We have a project manager.
Okay.
Did we set ourselves a goal, a date to get this done by?
Okay. All right, Norm, thanks for your comments. Move to the delegation portion of the meeting and from Kelvin Grove, we have Cam, Biz and Farah. Yes. If you'd like to stand at the podium and address. Breakfast is here. Councilors are fine with.
I'm fine with it. Well,
That's good.
To see you, yeah.
I like your attitude.
Okay, yes, yeah, but things are gonna get.
First of all, I have to say congratulations, all of you. Yeah, we are really grateful that we have a new council and mayor. And I'm sure that you are going to improve most of our problems. Because it was, as I stated in the advertising, that residents are first or as a priority from the outsiders. Unfortunately, last 17 years that I'm living in here, and I'm very happy that I know Margaret, my friend. Something that he's aware very well had happened to parking lot in Lower Tenny. I believe that none of you, if you are seeing my home, and just even though there is a signage that from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. you are coming over there at 6 o'clock, and they love to talk and they love to yell at each other. And then after 10, that there is no bylaw officer, they are coming over there and stay till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And even though cooking or fire, whatsoever, that is dangerous for our village. I believe that we had a parking lot committee maybe, but if you don't have it, and I applied for that right away 2 months ago through the email, but still I didn't hear anything. If we don't have it. Pardon me?
No, it has not happened yet.
I know. Okay. She told me that if we don't have it, we can have a subcommittee as a parking committee to resolve the situation and problem for the village. Otherwise, I'm requesting very politely and just to the council and mayor that I would like to have a meeting with you and just issue all the problems, because right now there is no time that I can tell you everything. But briefly, I believe that none of you like to see any naked body in the parking lot that changing the urination or whatever they want to do. Because nobody can control it. And no bylaw or law is going to be effective if we don't have any bylaw officer or someone to improve it. In this regard, we are really frustrated. My wife and I, we are working from home, and after we have to sleep, that we have to have energy for the morning, but unfortunately we cannot. And in summer, especially, you have to open the windows, but we cannot do that because so much noise, so much traffic or whatsoever. we have to find the way that what we have to do. First, we have to find, for any problem, we have to find the cause. And after that, we have to find the solution, but we have to propose the solution. Nobody did it last 17 years, the solution. Just they gave a kind of medication like an aspirin that the headache goes on and then it comes back again. I have the solution. If you want to make a parking committee, I'd be more than happy to be in there and just bring everything to the council and you are going to approve it or not, or make a suggestion. Because in my belief that I was professor of the universities, even though I have to tell you that you must be the highest authority to make a decision. The proposal comes to you, you make a decision. Not the CAO that before did whatever he wanted to and abusing the power. You are the people that you should say yes or no. Not CEO by himself make a decision. No, this is not right. I don't know what you want. What you want to do, what you want to know more about the parking lot, but as I said, urination, naked body, dangers for the fire, and the bylaw officer comes from after 8 actually, until 10. There is no solution for towing. Give the authority towing to make it's very simple. Make a contract with the towing company and give the authority to the people that they live over there. I talked with all of my friends over there, all of my neighbors. They don't want to participate in any council meeting. You know why? Because they don't trust anyone. They said, well, we have been there many times. They didn't do anything. But I'm sure that this council will do everything to protect us, because the resident has priority to the outsiders. I have the solution. Whatever you decided, let me know what we can do. I'm here to help by my time, free of charge, by my time and by my heart, because I'm the resident of Lions Bay. One of the problems that we had before was exactly CAO that stopped everything that we wanted. Thank you that you know for your time that I spoke with you right now. Please let me know that what we can. This must be solved right now because somebody decide. Next month, everybody just coming over here. Let me know what we can. I have the solution. There is a few solutions that you can choose which one you believe that is better. Right now, for the rest of my time, I give the rest of my time to my boss, which is my wife. I'm sure that all of you have a boss, and she's going to address to you whatever that she's concerned. Thank you so much. Waiting for you that let me know what we can do as soon as possible. We are in a very. Do you know that they break my windows? Because I said that, please do not be naked in here or urination. There is a washroom over there. What is that? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Candace.
Just gonna stand up here. Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing us to have an opportunity to talk. This is not talking about all the issues in Lions Bay, Lower Calvin Grove parking lot, but Michael knows, and some of you that have been here long enough, we actually lived in Lions Bay since 2005, so it's been more than 17 years. And we've been constantly active member with various mayors that came here. regarding all the parking lot issues at Lower Calvin Grove that has actually impacted the quality of our life. And the reason we're here, we're spending our time here because by the way, I'm just kind of overwhelmed with the amount of problems that's already here. To you guys, probably parking lot is not a major issue because it seems like the village has a lot of issues to solve, especially with a lot of turnover of the staffs and the new staffs. There's a lot of work you guys need to do. I feel for all of you, by the way, and especially the way that I saw the reactions between the parties. Hopefully you can come to some sort of alignment and work things out and work collaboratively. But the impact of the Lower Calvin Grove parking lot, it impacts us, especially nowadays, because at least before, we were able to leave our house and go to work and work in the offices. But these days, we still work from home. And not having, when people come there during the summertime, especially these days, it's a lot more than before. They park their car, they actually make a lot of loud sound. They talk, and then with summertime, we don't have air conditioning. We have to open our windows. So we can't fall asleep because they're right there in front of our house. And, just to give you some idea, last year we have several fires, by the way. That was, I don't know if you have a track record of all of that. One of our fear is, they put the parking lot on fire because they're so close with their, they actually use their grill inside their van and having barbecue right there in the parking lot. They're doing the party, they're having dance parties, and we have lots of pictures, lots of videos, so we'll be happy to present at the window and in the past. So I think the urinations and changes and all of that is just, a normal thing happens every single weekend, especially even if it's not, nice weather. They come there all the time. I don't know why people don't understand. There is a washroom, and when we told them, especially this last weekend, don't urinate in front of our house. We live here. How would you like if we come to your yard and urinate? And they said that the washroom is locked. If we have washroom, why washroom is locked for people? If it's made for people and there is, I never been to that washroom, by the way, but I don't know if there's showers or place to change. I know there is a place to change. Why can't we just enforce that people change there and do their urination inside the washroom rather than in front of our house? And also to make sure that, if there is people are coming there after hours or before hours to put some sort of restrictions on bylaw and apply that to make sure that enforce the bylaw, not just, put signs there. So people don't, turn on their fires or grill in the parking lot or have some sort of dangerous things that happen. And these days, nowadays, a lot of kids come there, teenagers, I don't know what age group, after hours and park their car. And, like in 2 o'clock in the morning, we can hear laughing and screaming or, having a loud music. This is impacting our life every single day. And as we get older, honestly, we cannot sleep and impact our health. So we do need help to solve these. And then another issue I wanted to bring forward is, Kambiz mentioned with the past 17, 18 years, we come forward, we talk about all these issues, we send documentations, and honestly, nothing gets done, unfortunately, because it seems like the village has a lot more bigger issues than, worrying about us not being able to sleep or impact or quality of our lives. But another thing is that since I lived here, I never seen, we made many requests to at least to do a little bit of all the trees that is right in front of our house. It used to be bushes. They're all big trees and we have no views. Like if you come and we paid, when we purchased our house, even 17 years ago, we paid way over $1 million for it. And we're not rich people. I still have big mortgage on it. I'm only living there because I wanted to have a nice, quality life. I want to have a nice view. And my question to you is, why is the village never spent even $1 on trimming, trimming and windowing, anything? Like the whole Calvin Grove parking lot became like a jungle. And there's a lot of rubbishes and things like that. And then never $1 was spent there. We even come forward and we say we pay from our own budget, our own money, if the Lions Bay do not want to pay anything, and we still did not receive approval for that. So my question, my ask is, if you're not going to spend the money or spend anything about doing anything about the trimming, like, even you trim you do not, your lawn, you do your garden yourself. But the thing is, that is in front of our house it's becoming more like a jungle to us. So please, if allow us, if we don't have budget for it, we're happy to, pitch in with our neighbors, and we just need a approval to do the trimming and windowing of the trees in front of our house. Thank you for listening.
I would like to add one thing before that. I'm glad that my daughter is graduated from Royal Conservatory, and she's the piano teacher for Lions Bay. Many of the Lions Bay team came over there Saturday and Sunday that she's teaching there. But unfortunately, in summer she cannot. You know why? Because the window is open, there is so much loud everything. And Randy, when you started to work, counting on me as a quality coach. Without no charge. Quality coach. Nice to see you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please do some.
Cambiz and Farah, thank you very much. We can see the anguish that you're going through, and I hope as a council that we'll be able to help in regard to the parking and perhaps some of the trees. But as you mentioned, there's many things on the council table, and I think we're all looking forward to working with the ministry, with Randy Deal and also the by-election. So, but thank you for sharing your challenges.
I'd just like to make a comment while I'm here. It's just pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, thank you. From my part, I'm new to the town, I've lived here for 2 years. But yeah, fantastic building inspector that you could rehire. He's tried a long time. He's smart, and he's competent, and lives here. So I think he should be rehired. To retain that. Perhaps made a mistake and not, taking one's offer to return to work. It should reappraise that. Be a good move. I'm in business myself, I make mistakes.
Okay.
Please consider that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for.
Okay. Okay.
Please don't forget. Next week they are coming here. Let me know what we have to do. I'm ready to give you the solutions. Right. Thank you. Thank you. Love you all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move to item number 7, review and approval of minutes. There's no minutes to approve at this time. Business arising from the minutes, none. And number 9 is unfinished business follow-up action. So I'll move right to 265. Which is with ministry regarding vacancy tax and report back to council. Marcus, it says ongoing, anything to report?
Ongoing, I'm putting something together, but I'll have that in written form for you at a future meeting.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Item 266, present budget to council. Mr. Miller, you walk us. Did you want to walk us through the budget at this time, right now? Okay, let's do that.
I've got 3 budgets here. The first is the draft water budget. It's basically no changes from prior year. There's a few reduced expenditures.
So is this what's on the agenda later?
No.
It is under reports, stock reports.
It's item 10A.
10A.
Okay, we can address it now or later at 10A.
Shall we just, let's maybe keep with the order here?
Yeah.
So if we're talking presenting budget to council, the main, these are the utility budgets. And then the main budget we'll talk about once, we need to move along on this for sure. But then the main budget discussion will be
Next council meeting.
at the next council meeting. Excellent. And I think it'll be part of our discussions with Mr. Deal as well going forward.
Yes.
After that. So excellent. Okay.
So just to confirm, Ron, you're saying the budget will be ready by the next council meeting?
No, I did not say that. So we can start discussing it.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to walk us through anything on this, or would you like to just table this?
Sorry, this is, we're
Okay.
talking two different things.
We're doing two things, yes.
Especially about the budget, not the utility,
Yeah, okay.
two different
Talking
things.
about utilities.
Whatever you're ready. we'll tell me about it.
Okay.
What do we do?
Why don't we, let's
Okay,
hold
so
off on that just for a moment.
266, we'll be able to discuss the budget starting at the next meeting. That's, I understand that. Now, 270 is the bird friendly. Where is that? Is there any update on that one?
Yeah, I can give a quick update. So there's two things there. So the bird friendly event, just a reminder to everyone, May 13th. In the village hall. Similar to last year, a lot of people are going to be involved. It's going to be the baseball group's going to be there. House on Biosphere is going to be, Senior Circle are going to be there. The Climate Action Committee should be there. Native Plant Garden, Trailblazers, all of those people. So that's just a reminder on that one. The invasive species, their meeting is, the annual general meeting is April the 19th. And depending on the outcome of that, I guess Penny will report back to council.
Okay, thank you for that. Item 272, we struck from the updates. So we'll move right to item number 10.
So if I could, I know we didn't have the minutes here, but if we did have the minutes, there's a matter of business arising thing that I'd just like to maybe bring up, and maybe we can just do it here in unfinished business.
And what would that be?
The one thing was, I just wanted an update on the volunteer appreciation week. I did discuss with Mark Brown about whether we could have a volunteer appreciation week during an election. He did state that he could, if we so choose, it'd be a council decision. There's nothing that said we cannot have a volunteer appreciation week or that type of event during an election. So it was maybe a little not quite understood in the last council meeting. However, trying to do a volunteer appreciation week, or a volunteer appreciation event during the election week is never going to happen now because it's April 16th. So that's not going to happen. I guess we can decide how we want to celebrate volunteers at a later date. In the same conversation with him, I mentioned that we've been told in the last meeting that we cannot.
Beginning of the meeting.
Sorry, go
So I
ahead.
just was waiting to see if they
Pardon me.
listening.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was recommended to Ron and Michael to listen, so I was just waiting for the finished conversation. So in the last meeting, Ron, it was stated that the CEO, Mark Brown, had said we cannot have an all candidates meeting in the hall. In the same discussion with him.
I don't think anybody said that.
Okay, you said we spoke to the CEO and he said the village cannot hold the all candidates event. The municipality cannot hold the all candidates event.
It said that we asked his opinion on, I think the motion was to say, can you ask him what he thinks, which we did.
When we get the minutes, you clearly did say that. Anyway, so I asked him that question and I asked him to clarify. So he said, what he stated was, he, as the chief election officer, cannot be involved in an all candidates event. The municipality, and you remember this, Michael, because we used to say we've been done it wrong for 20 years and everyone suggests the municipality can hold an all candidates event. The complication comes in where the CEO was filling both those roles, and that's where we probably got into sort of gray areas previously. If we had a CEO that was our chief elections officer and he was coordinating an all candidates event. So the municipality, if we so choose, can hold an all candidates event without any issue because we have independent CEOs and deputy CEOs. So I'm just putting it out there. We can hold an all candidates event organized by the municipality and the village office. I would suggest if we do so, I think it's a good idea. We should get someone independent from outside the village like we did last time. And I think that would be a good idea.
Sorry, I'll say something. I thought that's all being done.
It's all being done.
The all candidates meeting isn't being set up by David Shore.
I don't know.
So David Shaw setting up an all candidates thing?
Didn't we go through all of this?
No, first time hearing of it.
The meeting is, the hall is booked for that date, yeah.
It's in process.
Okay. I'm in favor of all candidates meeting. whoever sets it up. And if it's independent, that's all the better.
No, it has to be independent. It has to be independent. David Shaw is not independent in this election, not even close.
He's a resident. Why is he independent?
Okay, in the previous election, Ron, one of the candidates is running, he had parties for her, he had meetings for her, he out there blatantly promoted her.
Ron, maybe.
He cannot, that's not an independent.
Sorry, maybe what Ron can do is reach out to the elections officers.
And he said it was okay to do it.
I don't recall you saying that last time. So I think what Neville.
Councillors, Ron, you've never mentioned this to any of us.
So this has been the last week or so.
Yeah, but you just said that at the last meeting.
No, I was thinking of something different. I was thinking of the
Appreciation.
Appreciation.
Okay,
So the all candidates meeting that David Shaw plans to hold. I think council should get on top of that and make sure it's an independent.
Councillor Ross.
Unless he's having an event to promote one candidate.
Through the chair. My understanding is that the all candidates meetings have in Lions Bay have been organized by the village. And typically in years past, the last election, there was an acclamation, there was no all candidates meeting. The election before last election, there was one organized by the community. In previous years, they were organized by the village, and typically it was a respected village resident who was asked to chair it, is my recollection as we go back. Now, in terms of holding of all candidates meetings, my understanding from having been a candidate is that it is possible for there to be multiple all candidates meetings. And certainly it's not been the case in Lions Bay, but it is the case in other areas where, you know, the different organizations will host an all candidates meeting. And so that technically could happen. So anyway, it's not. So alternate, other all candidates meetings are not precluded, but in Lions Bay, they have not occurred.
Okay, we've got independent elections officers. Let's reach out to them. Mr. Miller, and they're the ones handling this, so I'm fine with that here. The more meetings or more all candidates meetings, if there's more than one, that's great. So let's find out the answers and look, it's run by an independent party here. We shouldn't have to fret over this.
So what I'm suggesting, as we did in previous election, what I'm suggesting is, and I wasn't planning a resolution here, but maybe there is one. I'm suggesting that the municipality has an all candidates election, all candidates meeting. The municipality pays the same as they did last time. That Dennis Beck, we've paid him $1,000, I think it was. And we have an independent person, have an all candidates meeting that's sponsored effectively by the municipality, as we've done in the past.
Let's consult with the elections officers, and they can tell us what we can and can't do. And I would be for that. Okay, but let's consult with them, and rather than us.
Okay. I have asked him that question, and the answer is yes. But okay, let's just not miss the window here. We can do it.
So can I?
Only he can to do it. Yeah.
Okay, so the question has been asked of the chief elections officer. He said, yes, the municipality can do it. I think we all realize we're in a very fractured and sensitive political environment, and that we need to do our utmost to maintain an impartial forum. And clearly, that would be best achieved if the village puts this on and we bring someone like Dennis back in again to do this. So I mean, Neville, you were talking about a motion. I would say the motion would be that Ron reach out to Dennis Back or an alternative independent facilitator and set up a all candidates event that is put on by the municipality by an outside independent facilitator, as was done in the last election.
Councillor Brown.
What I hear is that the village would host an all candidates meeting. I think in terms of the climate, I agree that it could be helpful to have an independent outside person. So I think that this is, I would support that motion.
Okay. Second,
Yeah, I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes,
Aye. Okay, motion carried.
So why would I need to reach out to Mark Brown?
you don't. You just need to,
I think we're in agreement that, look, the all candidates meetings, if we have 1, 2, 3, the more the better, whatever can be put together so that the residents.
No, but I think we just said we are gonna, as the village, we are asking Ron to go out to speak to Dennis Beck. That's what we just put a resolution for.
No.
To have an independent all candidates.
No, I heard, I'm not,
That's the resolution Marcus read.
yeah,
I didn't hear that Dennis Beck, maybe.
I think.
I
thought that was
thought we
an
were giving
example
staff
of an independent person.
an
I think,
independent person, yeah.
I think that
just to speak to what I said, it was Dennis Back or someone else who is as arm's length
Okay, so yeah.
independent as to that.
so an arm's length person.
Yes, and
So there's alternatives, Dennis Beck or someone else.
let's just be clear about something, that if it's not Dennis Back, then I would want the name of this person to come back to council, but I would strongly encourage Ron that you reach out to Dennis Back. He did a
We all
good
know.
job
Okay,
last year, in October for us, and he can put it together.
okay, we pass the resolution, Dennis Beck or other independent person. We give the staff the leeway to arrange something and move.
Yeah, I would just.
They don't need to come back to council again.
I would say that if it's not Dennis Back, that person does need to come back to council, because we all
That's
need to
not the
be
resolution.
Okay, I'm just adding that as a clarification, that we all
No.
need to be very cautious and careful that we have an event that is as impartial as possible.
Why would you want to put any doubt on this?
Pardon me?
I don't know why you're all shaking your head. We all know Dennis Beck.
Well,
is a
because
independent.
we've given the power to the staff to set things up, let them do their work.
Use David Shaw, for goodness sake. How independent would that have been? Really, Ron doesn't know he's independent. He was going to use David Shaw.
But David Short can still run an all candidates meeting, aren't he? He's
Okay, not this one. Not this one. Saying
the other one, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with David Short on one as well.
we are suggesting we have a village sanctioned or candidates event, and we should agree on someone to hold that we all clear and comfortable is impartial. Dennis Beck's the right guy.
Or other independent person, as we approved on the resolution.
Yeah,
Let's move forward. I think we're going around in circles here. Staff is going to move on that. We don't have to they don't have to keep coming back to us.
Look, clearly they do, because Ron doesn't know who are the people in the village and who could be impartial.
So the easy way out is
Just
on
make
reach
sure
out to Dennis Back and let us know that Dennis Back is the guy.
Or not. If he's not available, he's not available, then we have some deal. Let's make sure it's someone that you don't know from your past life, and Ken doesn't know, Michael's never met. Let's make sure it's someone impartial. And it can't be a resident.
Yeah, and if it's not Dennis Back, then bring the name back to us and we're gonna have to address it. But let's get on this, and Dennis Back did a decent job last time, so let's get him in.
Have you guys talked to Dennis Back lately?
No.
Okay,
Never spoken to him any time in my life other than the whole that night.
Yep.
good. Same. Okay, let's move on.
We're agreed that Dennis Back would be a good candidate then?
Yes.
Or,
Okay.
or an equivalent.
For other equipment.
I'm not
So
direct.
that's what
I don't think we need to be directing who the impartial person is. And I have this with us screening that person.
But we need to be cautious and absolutely vigilant as to impartiality.
Okay, we're moving on. Item number 10, reports, 10A staff. And that is the 2023 draft water, solid waste and sewer budgets. Recommendation is that the report from 2023 draft water, solid waste and sewer budgets be received for information purposes. Ron, can you walk us through that?
Sorry, which one?
That is the draft water, solid waste and sewer budget.
Do you all in front of you, the water budget?
Could I just move that we receive those?
Yes, second.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're not looking at, in the water budget, we're not looking at any significant changes. There's a couple changes in contract services, which are lower than normal, but other expenses will go up. So on the actual water budget, we're looking for a 0% increase in water user rates.
Okay, any,
Could I call a question on receiving it?
okay,
Yeah,
all in favor?
aye,
If we're receiving it.
just receiving
Receive
it,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's on the table, yeah, thank you.
aye, okay, opposed, motion carried.
Sorry, Ron, just.
Okay. Item number 10.2.
Oh, so we're not going to discuss it till tonight.
No, so
We've already,
we've received it, so now, yeah,
There's some discussion on it?
That was going to be presented, I believe. Michael's waiting for. Are you finished?
Finished. It's all written here. The notes are in the tab.
Okay.
any questions?
Yeah, well, I mean, I am going to state that I only got this yesterday, so we haven't had much time. There hasn't been, so that I wasn't sure what this receiver was because we didn't have time to review it. But I do have, yeah, I have a few observations from late night last night. On page 9, secondary suites, and there's another secondary suites part later. So secondary suites revenue went down. It's a small number in the overall budget, I get that. But percentage-wise, it went down, sort of fairly significantly on last year's budget to actual. And then this year, we seem to be suggesting that it's going to go back to last year's budget. There was a change last year around the secondary suites bylaw. That was to allow people that had firefighters in their suite to not pay utility taxes.
Or the surcharge, you mean?
The surcharge.
Yeah.
Not pay the surcharge.
Yes.
So my question is that what's causing this change? And if that is what's causing the change, surely we should be budgeting based on last year's actual and not last year's budget. In general, I think you should always budget on the previous year's actuals unless you've got a reason not to. And that's my question on that one. And on salaries and benefits, once again, last year's actuals was under the budget, and I assume what we're saying here is we're suggesting that last year's actuals were somehow underspent based on having staffing shortages, or what is the reason why?
Exactly right, staffing shortages, which they have to replenish.
Okay. So we think there was that significant a change between, I mean, the staffing shortage of stuff only started in December, right? So you forecast that if we have full complement of staff, we're going to spend this 383,000.
Correct.
And if we looked at the burn rate as we sit at the moment, 1/4 way through the year, are we burning that rate? We can't possibly be because we're short-staffed. So how would we get back to full budget value if we've underspent for the first 3 months?
So higher qualified people that we're bringing in, so different licensing.
Bringing in more highly paid people?
Sorry?
We're bringing in more highly paid people? We're increasing?
It's all about the type of people that are working. So they lost, I can't remember the actual licensing, what they're called.
Right.
License to do.
What license guys, yeah?
Yeah, so there's just a different composition of them.
Yeah, so I'd like to understand a little detail on that, Ron. I'm battling to understand if for the first quarter of the year, we significantly underspent on last year's budget or actual, And now we're forecasting we're going to actually spend more than we did. We get more than we did last year. We must be, and you're telling me we're bringing in more qualified people, higher priced help. That
I don't think we're that as far behind as you think for the first quarter. For labor.
this is
I've got all their support.
This is-
I don't have in front of me.
this is the water budget. So yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we have one guy that does only water and everyone else does a bit of it.
Mhm.
I think I'd like to understand it. It doesn't work for me. That forecast doesn't seem to make sense
Okay.
unless we get a further explanation.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have and then, okay, and the other part on that note, Ron, it says note 4, which is the one I was just talking about. It says the water fund was decreased, actually didn't decrease, it went up. So, yeah, and more than slightly, but anyway, so
I
that,
have to look at the details of it. I'm pretty sure I know about the.
okay, the answer is increased, not decreased, I think. Okay, the budgets, there's a fair bit of capital budget stuff here that, and I was on the LAT council, that I'm not sure I understand. So I'd like to have seen the village works manager here to help us explain this. And
He was going to come tonight. He was preoccupied.
well, we'll have him in the next meeting then.
Yes. Putting the place to ask his questions.
Okay, all right. I guess I can keep those for the next questions, for the next meeting then.
We might just table this budget then until next meeting. I don't have the details in front of me.
Okay. Council fine with tabling this?
I thought I'd give you a
Okay.
few more pointers, but sure, all right, we'll table it.
All right, we'll move to the next item.
Item.
Item 10.2 EOC and ESS purchase orders, prepaid credit cards. The recommendation is that council authorize staff to issue a purchase order number in EOC for a maximum of $50,000 based on the emergency purposes only. And the council authorized staff to issue a purchase order number to ESS to a maximum of $35,000 based on the emergency purposes only, and that staff investigate and issue of possible prepaid credit cards to ESS in the total of $4,500.
So moved to get on the
Second.
table.
Second?
Okay, we discussed this, I believe, at the emergency.
Yeah.
Any discussion needed, or we move the question?
Could I just speak to it briefly?
Sure.
It's to set funds aside so that they can be accessed rapidly in a time of need. So it's sort of an enabling item. And the prepaid credit cards was a idea brought forward actually by our acting CAO to have these available because again, on short notice, it's very difficult to be issuing checks or anything else. So the prepaid credit cards can be very, very effective. So anyway, these are all recommendations that came out of the Emergency Programs Committee, and it's a fabulous committee. So.
Okay, I think well said, and I think that those are great suggestions by Mr. Miller, and I think well received by the committee. Any other comments from the councillors?
I think the committee was on board with this. It was clearly there were some questions as to the logistics of it and could they go stale and how did we secure them and that kind of stuff. Have we worked through all those kind of logistical?
The resolution is to research, can we do the prepaid card?
Okay.
And it would be as simple as putting them in a lockbox. What you have at risk is $4,500. And I imagine you probably have to get it reviewed every year, but we have to find out.
Yeah, that was the logistics was a bit of a question. Okay.
Stale, yeah.
So you're gonna go forward and come back to us with
Yes, I do.
the details. All right, okay.
Let's investigate.
Okay, Councillor Ryder, any?
Yeah, so on the credit cards there, it actually reads investigate and issue. So I think it should remain as investigate. I've got some skepticism about this prepaid credit cards. So perhaps it could just remain, we could strike the issue part and that it's just staff investigate. And I'm also confused as to why we're asking staff to issue a purchase order number and to issue a purchase order number for these amounts. Aren't we just basically asking staff to set aside a budgetary amount in these matters? Why are we talking about issuing purchase order numbers?
You were at the meeting. The difficulty they have
Yeah,
is nobody will contract with them unless they have a number,
Right.
not just their budget. So they're working at 3 a.m. They're trying to find hotels. People won't deal with them unless they have a purchase order number
From the village.
from the village, not just authorized to issue up to $50,000 of expenditures. When they actually order the crane, whatever it is they wanted, that was another example. The supplier wants a number.
Okay.
So this is in response to a disaster, a creek washing out, a bridge washing out, so on. So
sure. So we're trying to set aside funds to be ready to have money ready to flow in those cases. I guess I just still can't get my head around the purchase order number.
First of all, we're not setting aside funds, we're authorizing them in case they use it to have the authority to spend up to $50,000. We're not putting money aside. If it makes it easier for him, in case an emergency happens and he has a number, we give it to him.
Okay.
It doesn't cost us anything. He has no authority, he can't do anything with it unless there's a disaster.
So the only cost is the $4,500 in prepaid credit cards that they can hand out to residents who have nothing and need to go to shelter, motel, whatever it might be.
The talk was 30 credit cards at $150 per card. So that if somebody has to go to a hotel quickly that night, get them, Mary Brown's, whether you put like, can give them a card.
Okay.
So I just want to say, I think that we should probably, I don't know if this is going to meet the expectations or needs of what was discussed in there in the EPC. I think we should probably take this back to the EPC and verify that this is going to give them the tools that they need. Both as to the purchase order number for the EOC and the ESS, and then ask them to make a specific recommendation to council, because I'm not sure that this captures it.
They were happy as can be with Ron's suggestions that night. In fact, they thought this was, they were completely happy with. So I don't know what
The cooperation that they received.
Sure,
what good it's going to do to go back to them again, other than to tie up more time.
Well, exactly. We will go back to them in the next meeting. Obviously, we're going to go back and tell them what we've done.
Well, I think we should speak to them and ask them if this satisfies what they require. Because they didn't word this. Right? I mean, let's get this right.
Okay, do we want
Through the
to
chair.
call?
Yeah, I'm sure that, could we ask our acting CAO to be in touch with the emergency programs coordinator to ensure that this meets the needs. In the meantime, and if there is an issue that an adjustment could be made, but in the meantime, I would, has this been moved and seconded?
Yeah,
I believe it has. I'd ask that we move ahead and that we support the emergency programs by supporting this motion.
Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And just to be clear, have we amended the third part of the motion that staff will investigate and have removed the word to issue? Are we clear on that? It is to investigate the use of possible prepaid cards?
And to issue if possible.
I'd ask that the to issue be removed. And it remains an investigation of the possibility on how that would work.
I think the motion is to issue them. That's the key, is they buy the cards, have them in a lockbox. If an emergency happens, Mary Brown is able to hand out cards to residents that are in need. $4,500 tied up.
I think the motion, assuming that the emergency programs coordinator and the acting CAO will be discussing this, I think will ensure that it will be worked out.
Okay.
So,
but can I don't was called. We had 3, 4, and I asked
for a clarification on whether that has.
We called the question. We called the.
Okay, I would.
There's a lack of clarity as to the question.
Well, as stated. here.
So we have not removed the words to issue.
No,
I
we have,
think for the purpose of that wording, what I'm gonna do is find out if I can do it.
Yes.
And then do it. If I can't do it, I won't do it. But I don't see any reason why we can't get prepaid cards. And then I'll issue them, that was the wording.
okay, I called the question. It was 3-4.
So hang on a second.
Against, motion carried.
No,
Okay.
Is it a motion to with issue in it as written?
As written.
Okay.
Okay, next item is item number B, Mayor. I have nothing other than Councillor Broughton attended TransLink and Metro on my behalf. So I'll move right to item number C, Council. And Councillor Abbott.
Grattan got any reports from his attendance?
Councillor Broughton, any
Well,
reports?
generally, I could say that I attended the TransLink meeting a week ago Friday and the Metro meeting this last Friday. And there was a number of issues that were dealt with in closed session, and fascinating process in terms of the similarity of working with our meetings, of course. The TransLink was predominantly focused on a very short timeline regarding adjustments they needed to make to appropriately receive the provincial funding that was coming. And so there was a lot of discussion around that. But again, that was enclosed. The Metro meeting, and there was a lot of discussion around the impact, the connection between transit and housing, and TransLink really looking very carefully at their funds that they were spending really had to be very closely aligned with the housing projections over time. So there really is a strong initiative on the part of the province to they're coming down with a lot of housing edicts, as you're all aware. And so every time someone's looking at housing, they're also looking very carefully at the transit to support that housing. And so all these discussions are not happening separately at all, which is quite interesting and definitely a move. Now, Metro is making all sorts of plans in terms of housing and so on. And as you're all aware, there's a lot of initiatives coming from the province. So it's going to be interesting over time to see how all the various municipalities and Metro move to try to meet the requirements of the provincial mandate to increase the amount of housing. So anyway, there's a lot going on.
Michael, can I just ask, was there anything in there that gave you specific cause for concern as our community is considered?
Not from that meeting, more so from reading the Vancouver Sun today. The fact that there is a lot of the province is looking to be very specific to encourage all communities to make housing available and to become more complete communities. I think, we have some things in place in terms of laneway houses and so on, and encouragement of suites. And so I think those things are really I think we need to be aware of those and really pursue those as there is more maybe external pressure to come to provide more housing. So I think one of the reasons, this is my personal opinion, but a very strong support of the initiative that you took last year was around being removed from the urban designation was to have more control over destiny and to be involved, to actively pursue. But I think there's a lot of interest in our community I certainly talked to a number of people who were looking for ways to provide additional housing for their families in terms of laneway housing and also suites. So I think we're going to see more being approached on that much more in the future. I don't know if that gave me pause
Okay.
or,
Yeah, a little bit scared. Yeah.
I think we'll do well.
So I did hear back from Vice Chair of Metro, John McEwen, and he was very complimentary of your attendance and said you really went out of your way to meet with everyone.
Oh, thank you.
So very positive feedback.
Great.
Okay, item number C, council, Councillor Abbott, Citizen of the Year distinction. We've covered that off, have we?
Oh, we've covered all the volunteer appreciation event, so I guess that, I mean, at some point, I'm assuming we're gonna have a citizen year distinction this year, but it's not an action I'm taking.
Okay.
Could I speak to that?
Yeah.
I think up until pre-COVID, the citizen distinction that was typically happened at the July 1st event. So, I think during COVID,
The previous council started the volunteer appreciation event.
Right.
Pre-COVID.
Right.
No,
Right.
Not because pre-COVID.
Right.
It got suspended during COVID.
Okay.
Well, it didn't get suspended, actually. It got scaled down during COVID.
Right.
And we had a much smaller event with just the awardees and immediate family.
Right.
Because of the COVID restrictions.
Right.
So, yeah.
So
Prior,
as
on
part of
previous councils, they used to do it on Canada Day.
right.
They used to, no, they never used to have volunteer appreciation. They used to, on Canada, they used to give out their awards. Over the years, you probably remember there's been times where people got sent T-shirts. There's been various things that have happened over the years. But the previous council had an event called Volunteer Appreciation Event on Volunteer Appreciation Week. And the only reason it didn't happen 4 times is because of COVID. That's the best way of describing it.
I see.
And at that event, we gave out the Citizen of the Year distinction.
So because of the time, so it looks like July 1st would be the best time this year anyway to do it. Going forward. Yeah. Okay.
If we don't want to hold a special event for volunteer appreciation and throw them a party, then we could dish them out on July 1st. But yeah, it's
Okay.
discussion on the table, but
Why would we wait until July 1st?
Well, you want to have people there.
if you had a special event, even if it wasn't during the volunteer appreciation week, I'm sure people would show up. That wouldn't make any difference.
Well, I think if you want to honor your Citizen of the Year and honor us, and if there is a Citizen of Distinction, that you would want it to be at probably the major event of the year, which tends to be the July 1st. So anyway, let's discuss that.
Okay, let's give it some thought.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Okay, items 2C.
I guess to that point, sorry, is someone actually going to send out a village update? And so in previous councils, once again, prior to the one that I was on, in previous councils, council got together, try to think of someone, in my opinion, it ended up being the same group of people over and over sometimes. They were struggling. And I said, at our council, I said, well, why don't we just go out and ask the residents? And I thought it was a great idea and it worked really well. So I don't know if the intention is to go back to that. I would suggest we go back to that. But, the notices should go out at some point if you're going to go out and ask residents what they think.
So should we add that
Call for
back?
nominations.
Yeah. In the village update?
Yeah.
Sure. I think that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Should we
put nominations forward?
Do we need
Okay, motion for
a
that?
motion that we call for nominations for the village for Citizen of the Year and Citizen of Distinction in the village update?
Okay, second.
I'll say that.
All in favor?
Deadline should we put a deadline or let's figure that out? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Second, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, opposed, carried.
Why don't you just bring the standard ones, you'll find them on the website, to the next meeting, and then we can pick the dates and deadlines.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, C 2 and 3, I believe we've eliminated those. So we'll move to item number D, which is committees, Lions Bay Beach Committee. Over to Councillor Broughton and Abbott.
Sorry,
C2, we actually deferred that to the open, did we not?
Okay, sorry, I've got notes.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it wasn't closed.
No, sorry. No, hang on. I'm going back up here.
Hold on.
Sorry, I need to get back to what you guys are looking at. I'm looking at the actual.
Or
I'm looking-
C2,
I'm looking at the
I
report.
tried to
Okay.
eliminate that. That was
C2 is on page 15. We are still doing C2. It's on page 15. What is the recommendation below here doesn't belong to C2. That's in the closed meeting.
So under C2 on page 3, we need to move that recommendation to closed.
Yeah, it's already there.
Okay.
Okay, so is there anything to cover then?
So yes, on C2 on page 15, yes, there's a report. It hasn't got a resolution attached. Okay. So I don't know how much detail need to go into here. I well know Michael has reviewed it and Marcus has reviewed it because they were on the two committees that I mentioned differently.
This is the web.
Watch just talking to me. I turn that off. So I can go through it at a very high level. I'm sure everyone's read it.
Maybe just give us the highlights of it.
Okay, so what happened at the Beach Park Committee? Sorry, let's go back. At the Climate Action Committee, we went through the list of actions that had been instigated in the previous Climate Action Committee, but hadn't been closed out. One of them was to revise our purchasing policy to have a green lens, and it had been, and I attached the minutes here, they're all in this report. The council at the time had put the ownership on doing that back to staff. I can find no report ever coming from staff. It would seem like it never happened, or if it did happen, it certainly didn't get to the point there was a report that came to council. The following night, at the Beach Park Committee, the Beach Park Committee put forward a recommendation that we change our purchasing policy, and their focus was more around the delegation of authorities as to the values. It starts off really low, $2,000, you have to do this, 10,000, 20,000, so on. And the reason they were doing that is because they were looking at what they wanted to do at the beach park and what we needed to get done all in contracts and stuff. And they thought the purchasing policy could do with a bit of an update. It is very old and it has not been updated in decades. We pointed out, or I pointed out to the committee that it wasn't, this was a little bit outside of their lane in terms of reference, didn't lend itself to recommending changes to a policy. However, appreciate them putting in the effort. Very appreciative of that, because Susan had gone out and got all the information from various other municipalities like ours and compared their policies. All of that's in the report. So we decided this needed to come to council and decide what to do next. I then went back and looked at my old notes and found that in 2018, Haley had actually produced a report, but it never got finalized to actually change and update purchasing policy. And similarly, it was more focused on delegations of authority and so on, which were kind of getting in line with what Beach Park Committee said and what everyone else is doing. I mean, ours is decades old and the values are just so low, you couldn't buy a box of pencils, right, with the first delegation of authority. When I looked at all of these things, I realized there's three things going on. We have purchasing policy, which we were meant to update, and we never got to, around delegation of authority. The Beach Park wants to do that. We have a previous report, and then we've got this green action that we're supposed to have done. So I think maybe all of these things combined and became a bit of a heavy workload, and that's why it never happened. Or it just fell off someone's desk. So what to do with it is basically what I'm asking, what council wants to think to do. Clearly, the current staffing levels, and we're trying to get budgets out. This is probably not going to see any priority in any staff's time for relatively near future. The input from the Beach Park Committee on the delegations of authorities and their suggestions, we can take that information and roll it into the other thing. They've done their job. But the Climate Action Committee, who were expecting staff to have done something, haven't been asked to actually go and work on and write the revisions themselves, because the previous council, they were told, don't do that, staff jobs, stay out of it. But I haven't approached them and asked them if they would. They said, there was like, well, yeah, it's going to take a lot more work than a week. I said, we're not expecting to get it done this week. The urgency to do this from the beach park side of point of view is not that great because we are a while away from awarding any other contracts other than the one we're going to talk about in closed, the architectural one. And the one we're going to talk about in closed, we can actually do with, in my opinion, within the current policy. So the urgency to do that from time point of view isn't as great as one would have thought, or they first thought.
So what are you looking for here?
I'm not looking for anything. I'm looking for everyone.
It is received.
No, I'm looking for everyone to come up and say what they think. Do we want to at least stay with staff? I want to move this forward. Do we want to go back to the Climate Action Committee? Does staff want to take this? Because the last time we were told it was their responsibility. Council's opinion, yeah, what do we want to do?
See, you got some very talented people in Lions Bay. This is my understanding. You've got talented people there. And basically they make recommendations. So whatever the beach park, whatever they put forward as a recommendation, then council either runs with it.
They understand that that's not in their terms of reference. They're good with that.
Right.
We've got their recommendation is based on what they've seen they're needing next year on the beach park. We've got that information. We also have two other actions going on about updating this policy. They all need to happen at the same time. Just a question of how we're going to do that, and are we going to put it back to staff? There's no point in just doing the delegation of authority part, whether we use Haley's version or the beach parks version. We need to do the other actions as well. Wrap the whole thing up and do it once. It's a really old policy that needs some update.
Just ask a question on that one. Are you suggesting like a committee has the authority to approve a purchase order to a certain limit?
No. Not suggesting the committee has any authority to approve anything.
You just want to update
The purchasing policy. Yeah.
But it's not just the limits.
But the committees, as they're interacting with the purchasing policy, are seeing some of the problems and looking to and making suggestions, positive suggestions. The policy is very out of date, and the economy is very different, and the availability of suppliers is very different. So if you find a supplier, you've got to be able to jump on it. And so it's creating. I think
no committees are going out purchasing anything.
No, but they're
the question really
making suggestions for consideration.
The question really comes down to Climate Action Committee resolution from the previous council that never happened, as well as the 2018 report for this procurement policy that never got finalized. Who's going to do that? I'm assuming that I should be going back to the Climate Action Committee and asking them to write the climate action portion. But I don't think there's any staff that's going to do it.
I'm just confused in the two between purchasing authority and what would the climate, for example, the Climate Action Committee, what would they be recommending?
The Climate Action Committee brought a recommendation to council. Council passed a resolution that staff were to revise our purchasing policy, and they were to put language in it around sustainability,
green initiatives.
It was all in the resolution. It's all in this report, right? You can see it there. You can see the words of it.
Maybe we can get Ron together with that committee leaders. Who's spearheading this? Is it David Lee? Is it?
No. I think on the beach park stuff, we don't have to worry about it. We know what that recommendation is. We can deal with it. If it's here, it's clear. That part's done. I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
It's the climate action part of it we need.
Okay.
And then we need to roll them both
together with
Ron. We need to roll them both together. Okay, so what I'm hearing you guys suggest that you want me to go back to the Climate Action Committee and ask them to come up with a recommendation on what they want to see change. Because the previous council resolution was, no, they're not doing it. Staff wanted to do it, and staff got a resolution that they would do it. So we're going against the previous council resolution if we ask the committee to do it. But I'm quite happy to do that. That's what we want to do.
Does that previous council resolution still stand? It would need to be rescinded.
It'll stand. It's in here. Should we read it quickly? It's in the report.
Yes. Well, I guess my question there was, do we need to rescind it?
Well, maybe you could show me For the couple times now, I can't find what you're talking about, the green initiative.
Okay, I'm getting there. Give me a second.
That was a referral to a different
Minutes.
meeting.
I didn't understand we wanted to change the purchase order.
Okay, page 37 of 92 of the package, page 9 of 12 of the meeting minutes.
Thank you.
I like
Back to the
the,
committee or.
That's the highlighted.
That was the resolution, and staff haven't done it. I'm asking, we wanted this. Staff gonna do this as they were instructed, or we going back to the committee?
I don't think staff is gonna get to it right now, so probably the committee put a recommendation forward.
No, they haven't yet.
No, they could perhaps.
They could, I could go back to the committee and say, staff aren't going to get to this. You guys have the horsepower. Do you want to do this? But to Marcus's point, do we have to rescind this? Or not? I don't know.
We could rescind it at the next, at whenever we consider this.
Yes.
Says the council directs staff to work with the committee to provide feedback.
That sounds good. Let's have them come back with a recommendation.
And in order to facilitate that recommendation, we would rescind the previous motion.
Yeah, we could do it now or then.
Yeah, well,
Well, let me take it back to the committee.
we don't know
See
what.
if they've got someone that wants to do it. And then we'll come back.
Okay,
Is that the decision?
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
These other changes, whose recommendations are those? Or the blue?
The ones in blue
Yeah.
are ours.
Who's ours? Who's ours?
Mine.
It started off as the beach box recommendations, but we pointed out it wasn't in their terms of reference. So it's mine and Michael's, I guess.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, they understand it's not, they went ahead and did all the work. Great on them. We thank them for it. But they know it's not in their purview to do this.
We said that we
So-
bring it forward.
So two councillors are bringing it forward.
Yeah, and all the research that was done to substantiate it is there as well.
And it lines up with the other ones. And it also seems to line up with where Haley was going in 2018. It all seems to be kind of lining up.
Must be something right about it.
And that's also in here, Haley's 2018.
Okay.
All right, anything to approve here? So we're gonna wait and you're gonna.
The way I understand it, I'm going to go back to the committee and see if they want to do
Okay,
the climate action part of it. And what I'm suggesting, you then going to look at the other part, the delegation of authority, the rest of it, based on these recommendations we're giving.
Lots of, yeah. What do you mean by the delegation of?
thanks tonight.
Okay. I'm going back to the climate action committee to do the green stuff, right?
With this wording?
Yes.
We have no objection.
Yeah.
Of course, that's.
And it was already approved. The second part of it is changes to the delegation of authorities.
That doesn't go to a committee, that goes between.
That's between us. And you've got two reports there. You got one thing from a committee that stepped out of their lane and submitted something, which thinks looks quite good, did a lot of research. You got that in the blue, and then you got Haley's one. And I haven't gone in line by line and matched them up. Somewhere in there, staff member needs to change the rest of the policy.
Okay, so what you have here in blue is what you and Michael serve.
Yeah, but it's only changing the values. It's not about.
No, it's changing more than the value.
And changing the delegation categories will change quite a bit, but it didn't go in. It didn't go in and change the wording in the rest of the policy, which is also.
So this is what you propose. I think it's quite good. Not good about other than a couple words.
Yeah.
Where's the other one that said the planning committee suggested?
No, they haven't suggested anything. It's just a resolution. The other one from 2018 is Haley's report. I think it's the last item from 2018.
That's the page 27, 9 of 12, page 37.
No.
Okay, let's move forward.
No, we need to get this clear so we know what we're doing.
Well, you're going back to climate change committee and
No,
there.
but there's another
We got a
part.
recommendation.
There's another part to it here.
So this
Page 41.
is yours.
Yeah. You've got it there, page 41.
Yeah. And it's the yellow highlighted.
Yeah. There you go. This. Well, this is a draft that started in staff in 2018, starts to do the same things. Changing the values, delegations of authority, but it's got different wording, it's different form. It looks a lot more together and modern than out of the one page. So it's this, the other one, and what it stands like at the moment. Someone needs to come up with the new policy. And then just leave a blank spot part for the climate action to slot in their requests.
All right, Noah, can we move forward here?
If Ron,
This could be a sidebar if there needs to be more discussion.
okay, Ron's good. Okay.
What I have to do, so if I get it. I have to look at what 580's produced. It looks at a cleaner version of what was before, where I saw here before.
Yeah.
Here. I don't think anything has changed. I'd have to look at it. But then what the climate committee can do is if they want to put their verbiage in.
Yes, I'll take that separately.
And that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and the beach park has provided a frame. So just look at that, and they all overlap.
All right, move to the next item is E, and that's emergency services, the RCMP report, a motion that the RCMP report be received. Moved. Second.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Carried. Okay, item number 11, resolutions, noise relaxation request, recommendation for a motion that the council grant an exception to noise bylaw 283, 1998 to allow for the events with amplified sound between the hours of 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. at the Broughton Hall for the year 2023 and 2024. A motion.
So moved.
Second.
Could I just make a minor change? Take out the word "the" before Broughton Hall and put it in before the word "year." So 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. at Broughton Hall for the year 2023, 2024. Just grammatically.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I've got a bit of discussion. I'm somewhat uncomfortable with this. So previously, we've had some sort of restrictions on, Craig has tried to visit the store. We gave him restrictions, no more than, 1 year it was, you couldn't have more than 2 weekends in a row. You couldn't have more than 6 events in a year. We've had other people come forward that you want to do multiple events. And we've had similar kind of restrictions, but we've had some sort of mechanism to keep track of what we do. We've made it kind of fluid and more flexible. What we weren't saying that you had to come and apply for a permit every single time. We said around these guidelines, yeah, you can go ahead. But what this did is it basically just removes that part of the bylaw completely. It could mean we could have kids having parties Friday night, Saturday night, week after week, whatever they want to do in there without any restriction. And there was always a need to have some sort of restriction, but allow some flexibility. I don't.
Could we put subject to staff approval or something to that effect? To allow for the events subject to staff approval with amplified sound. That way staff is monitoring. As you say, it's not opening the whole year up to.
I don't think we have enough staff to deal with this. So how would we rephrase it so that we can capture?
So previously someone had to come and get a permit.
Yeah.
What we allowed for certain groups to do, to get multiple permits, to get a period permit or get under no more than so many events. There was other restrictions, like in the case of Craig down at the cafe, he had to consult the neighbors as well, right? Let them know. So you want to make sure that if someone's having a family event around here, be it a wedding, a funeral, whatever it is, that they at least get a chance to know, hey, I'm going to get loud music blaring. I think this basically what this does is just sort of neglect or just cancels the whole section of the bylaw, the noise bylaw. I think it's there for a reason.
How many outside groups do we get coming in to use the village hall?
We have outside groups that don't make a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm.
We have some of those.
Mm-hmm.
We have the house concert groups, which are great events, and they're normally early in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And they would need to get this. There's a group, for example, you could say, yeah, how many events you got? We've got 6. That's fine as long as they don't clash with something else. But we do in the past, we have had people that have just come rented the hall for a party. We've got our own events committee that do it as well. People that just come rent the hall just to have a party. I think if we say it's blanket for everyone and the word gets around and it's basically a huge party and the rent's cheap, we might just be having lots of parties here. Because the rent is cheap, it's a steal.
Yeah. And we're thinking of the death metal heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, how was this brought forward? How was it?
Well, it's before us, so,
Was it requested by who?
Yeah.
Okay,
she's got a
so
bunch of concerts lined up.
that's reasonable, some sort of restrictions or at least.
Yeah, same.
So how do we want to?
In Tamara's case, give a list of her concerts and then go ahead and do them in that case. In the other groups who are to come to council or come to the say, this is my event, this is what I'm doing. Craig's going to be coming with his one pretty soon, probably next week.
Yeah. Now, it's from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. And so some of the, like the Halloween dance and things like that, they'll probably be coming to ask for an allowance to 12, right? To midnight, that type of thing.
Well, they come in and ask for allowance anyway.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying it's, yeah.
so what are we suggesting that a group who or an entity in the village who has multiple events come forward and ask for
Give a schedule
and that we consider it ad hoc and thereby retain some control over what occurs down there in terms of noise levels?
I think
there's one common booking agency, right? Okay. Reception.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there's an issue that reception would notify the CAO, and I can't see are we suggesting that all these come to council?
Well, they used to have to come to council.
Yeah.
Happened with that. So I'm not suggesting that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
I'm good with letting staff make that decision. But I agree with you that we shouldn't just open it up for the full year.
Can't just be open up for the year.
No.
Okay.
So recognizing that.
Is there a problem? Is there a problem?
So why don't we do this? I think
we're trying to find a solution to a problem that isn't really a problem. I
sort of feel a problem in the past, and it wouldn't be a bylaw, Michael. There's been a problem in the past. Right?
Yeah. No.
Point. You don't want to have it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not suggesting just running it through. Yeah. At this point, I'm saying is.
So why don't we do this?
What problem is this request resolving?
It's resolving someone's concern of having to come to council every single time they want to hold an event to get a permit.
Right.
So what we're suggesting here is
based on multiple permits.
We give staff some discretion. They can give multiple permits based on a reasonable schedule. And if too many people start applying, then it has to come back to council. We might have to put our foot down.
So events committee might come and say we want to have 4 dances. And
as long as we get told what that schedule is and what it looks like.
Fine. Yeah. Versus just removing it. Yeah. Okay.
So what you're suggesting then is that it go to staff?
Yeah, let it go to staff. Because we know there's one event coming up short order. We're not going to hold a special council meeting for it. Let it go to staff. Sanction the first event, right? Get some sort of schedule. You're going to get a schedule coming from the guys in the store pretty soon as well. Maybe in a future council meeting, bring back all the schedules. This is who's doing what, or it's reasonable, fine.
Well, if we know something's coming in short order, then why don't we just sanction it now?
All right. Well, we could sanction the one event in short order. What date
is that the weekend?
The jazz thing. What date is it?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's 2 of them. There's one on Saturday and one on Sunday.
Yeah.
So should we sanction those right now?
Sure. Okay, let's sanction those 2 now. And then from going forward, we're looking for a schedule. Okay.
All right. Motion for that.
As stated?
Yeah.
Second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried.
Okay.
Okay. Number 12, bylaws, solid waste and utility user rate amendment bylaws 626, 627, and 628. Okay, and we've got so on this, we've also got the water rates and regulations bylaw number 2, 1971, amendment bylaw number 626, 2023, And the recommendation, the motion that the water rates and regulations bylaw number 2, 1971 amendment bylaw number 626, 2023 be introduced and read 3 times. So motion for that.
Put it forward.
Second.
Yeah, we're not gonna read it now.
We tabled that. Okay. All of these. So did we also table the garbage and recycling? All three. Okay. Correspondence, we'll move to item 13 and Councilor Brown, over to you.
Okay, I'll try to be quick with this. First of all, I want to highlight a few things here. Patrick Wheeler sent us a message regarding public consultations for aging at home. And I think something that I can keep raising is the interest in our community to age in place. And that we, as a council, we really need to be looking for opportunities to assist people to do that. And I think one of the things that people are starting to look at is putting a suite in their home so that they can have someone even have a caregiver, living in their home. So anyway, there's many different ways that this impacts in terms of providing services, in terms of transportation and everything else. So just an awareness there. Reducing community cancer risk from radon. We've received letter regarding that, and it can be, it's posted in the minutes, so it's there. UBCM is in September of this year. So the UBCM will be looking for delegates from our community. So councillors want to think about that. I'm not sure when you would want to commit to that, but probably it's in September. So probably they'd want to know early summer, something like that. The Community Action Initiative, local leadership, it's around drug overdose. If someone has an interest in attending, the information's all there. ECOM Board of Directors, we're being requested to support ongoingly support our delegate. Dedicated recruiters offering us assistance in recruiting, and the Metro 2050. I think I've spoken a little bit about Metro's focus on regional growth, the regional growth strategy. So that's just a notification that was adopted by the Metro board, not in the meeting I attended, but in a previous one. So those were the outside general correspondence. The resident correspondence, essentially there were 3 letters, Mr. Ashcroft and Mr. Barmier, that were focused on grant funding, encouraging us to be proactive, to focus on infrastructure, and to really pay attention as we're looking to seek grant funding and where we should be targeting it. So again, I'm not going to go through line and verse what's in those, but those are available online. R2 car parked by the fire hydrant, just heads up that the hiking season has begun, and a request that bylaw officers be vigilant about some of the parking issues. R3, the Hallstrom, this believe that's from Ms. Hallstrom, is asking for more professional behavior at council, and that's been consistent with 2, I think, previous requests. So, and item number R6 is regarding the by-election. I believe that matter's been discussed in the meeting this evening regarding the by-election. So I will respond to all 6 of those letters, and it has been the process is I've created a response and run it by councillors, and the only issue was with the last two of my last responses, Councillor Reuter had a concern that, that it appeared that council was I'm sorry, I've forgotten your wording on that.
Well, my concern was that you were not representing the view of council.
Right.
And that you were creating an inference in your response that was as to a statement of opinion that did not reflect the view of council on that matter. So we've had some back and forth about that. I would ask also.
We disagree. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And I suppose the same thing may come up as to R5 and R6. I know we've discussed R6, but say in the case of R5, I think it's worth pointing out that there's a reference to a regular council meeting on March 7th. That the budget would be ready for the following meeting on the 21st. And so that's a month ago, and we still don't have a budget. So I understand the residents' frustration there. I am also wondering about the comment about the mayor's village update articles and suggesting that the finance committee is going to reach out to the community. I wasn't aware of that. I don't know how that would occur or what relevance that has. And then a call to again, we've discussed this, to publishing agendas in a timely fashion and with the minutes getting caught up. And again, I'd say this idea that we're getting a package like this on a Monday, which has got budget items in it, is frankly appalling. In other communities and in the previous council, these packages were ready on a Friday. And if we're going to have meaningful discussion at this table, we can't have stuff coming at the 11th hour. And then finally, as to the last letter, I don't know how you're going to answer that one, Michael, but again, those claims as to the ministry paying for the by-election were clearly made. And I don't see how anyone can walk around that. I don't know how you're going to answer that one. I hope very cautiously.
I would say cautiously, respectfully, and as accurately as I can.
Yeah,
So,
you may want to review the February 15th video to get some accuracy there.
well, I have actually reviewed that video and found it quite fascinating. But in terms of the letters to Mr. I'm sorry, Upeniks. I was quite concerned that he was, I could sense his frustration from not receiving a reply to his email. And then I did not reply to him because we couldn't agree on how I should reply to him. So, I wasn't going to engage in sort of politicize his concern earlier in the meeting. But I mean, what I've done here is I've thanked these people for their email, and I've stated my belief that I've said, I understand our acting CAO has been in contact with all owners or contractors with some options to move forward until our building officer is replaced. And I'm struggling to understand why that is a problem and why there's an inference of anything in that. It's a fact that the acting CEO has been in contact with all owners or contractors with some options to move forward. And those options were to provide an engineer's report or a architect's report.
Well, I mean, we're not in the orders of the day here. We're not discussing a previous correspondence when we're discussing this.
Okay, I think we covered that off.
If I can just finish here.
I'm out of order then.
Yeah, if I can just finish here.
To acknowledge that.
Yeah, I will leave it with the comments that I provided you and the frustration, honestly, that Mr. Upeniks is bringing forward, I think was frankly also that he wasn't getting any response from our CAO, which I hope, Ron, you will attend to in short order.
All right, Ron will be reaching out to him tomorrow, so. Okay, let's move.
Thank you. First comment on one item. The Obama brought up the disaster mitigation action fund. So I'm not sure what people want to do with that. That has a deadline in July
19th.
July 19th. If we don't decide as a council right now what we want to do and how we want to do that, we're never going to apply to that fund. That never going to be able to apply for that grant. That pretty much is a given. It's even going to be a struggle if we really are proactive and we jump on it. So I don't know. Maybe CEO can comment on. Are we taking any action to apply for the disaster mitigation fund?
How do we get Norm to
Discussed it at staff.
Norm can roll up his sleeves?
Yeah, I wonder if we could reach out to.
Climate Action Committee's discussed it.
Maybe Norm could roll up his sleeves in the climate action and give us something.
Climate
Action has discussed it and said
They've
that
discussed it.
they feel it's an infrastructure-based item, or should be referred to
No.
infrastructure.
Well, no, that was, I think Norm mentioned that in this.
Yeah, that's.
And he's probably right, but the Climate Action Committee was taking a look at it because it is about disaster mitigation based on climate action, and one of their terms of reference is climate resilience. So it kind of fits there. The problem we've got is it's a 40% grant. So it's not, it's not only 40 cent dollars. Best for that point, B, you have to have a project or series of projects that are combined over $1 million. So, if we are going to do that, and so I was asking Ron and staff and discussed it, but guess not. Ron's busy preoccupied with something else right now. So has there any been discussion with staff about this?
No, it hasn't been brought up. I to be honest, I haven't seen it. I would have discussed it, I've seen it, just plans.
Hasn't this come up before?
No, it's been in the last few meetings.
Okay, I wonder if we could.
Do we want to make some effort at trying to apply for this fund or not? I mean, this is what we
Okay, so we need
it's now April.
we need $1 million project or a combination of projects, $2 million.
So the one thing that
Is there would we ask
so here was my suggestion.
Okay.
My suggestion, and that's why, it should have been part of the whole budgeting cycle. My suggestion was, we could go, we have drainage issues all around the village.
Yes.
Significant drainage issues. We never deal with them because they're just not that sexy. And they're seen as lesser issues. They impact our roads. The water doesn't drain properly, flows on the roads. That's why the roads are cracking up. They've been on infrastructure master plan forever. They need to be dealt with. My thought was we could come up with a site-wide drainage plan that would be over $1 million. We don't need to do all of it. You're allowed to have multiple projects if they have the same outcome and goal. So you can have lots of small drainage projects as long as they add up to $1 million. It says that quite clearly in the grant. As long as the outcome and goals are the same. So we could do that, and then we could have flexibility as to how we exercise it, right? What's also not clear for me is this, it looks like this is one of the grants where you can actually double up with other grants.
Yeah.
So we could then have this, 40% of $1 million sitting there if we won this grant, which make other things far more achievable and far more economical, right? If they come up. If other grants come up.
And we do have, for example, the Bayview Road, the Ashcroft letter. Some component of that is drainage.
The drip project.
Yeah.
Yes. a large component that is drainage, and maybe we could just do the drainage portion, or maybe we can fund the water pipe portion, and we can do the drainage portion through this. So there's definitely
This is where a grant committee. would
there's
be.
definitely stuff we need to do, but and this is normally what we plan to discuss at a strategy session.
Right.
And I thought we could take the Ocean View drainage project that we looked at, which we have a budget for a certain style of drain by meter. We have broken the prices for it, and culvert prices. It's a few years old. We could take that, we could inflate it to today's current prices, and then we could look at a bigger scale on the rest of the village, and we could fairly quickly come up with some sort of budget. I don't know if that's enough for this grant or not, but I feel Norm's right. Well, we all know everything. Time's ticking here, and we unless we do something really quickly, we're going to miss this opportunity.
Okay. I'm wondering if a couple of us met with NI and the CAO and looked at the feasibility.
Why don't we just get it on the next agenda, or get the strategy session or whatever? Just get this thing on the list. I kind of thought it might have somehow slid into the budgeting cycle, but clearly not.
Well, maybe we could slide it into the budgeting cycle if we bring it up and get.
Ron, is it too late to introduce it, budget cycle?
And what about getting going on the grant application?
That's the big part. We've got to fill in the grant.
Okay, I think the first step would be do we want to pursue it? Is it worthwhile to pursue? My sense would be yes. So how do we do that? So I'm suggesting that we got, if couple of councillors got together with NI and the CAO, that we could see what was feasible.
I've had a
I'm
discussion.
not seeing it. You've had a discussion.
Well, when it first came out, I said to him, I wouldn't just fit the drainage. And he said, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. I haven't discussed it much further with him.
Okay, well, why don't
We
you
should take it back to the climate action committee and see if someone is prepared to do some of the legwork.
If by legwork, you mean grant writing.
Write the grant, yeah. Who's going to write the grant? Search and analyze it.
So we should be seeking, well, I've heard different individuals or mention of people who may have an interest in doing some grant writing. Can't remember who they are right now, but
Send me their name and tell them to come join the climate action committee. And them on and remember and get them writing the grant for us.
Well, I think they don't want to be a member of the committee necessarily, but they may be prepared to take on a task.
Sure.
The task would be writing this particular grant.
Even better.
So how about if we look at a way to, if two councillors and the CAO and I got together and looked at the feasibility and what we would need to move forward.
I think that just need to get going on the grant writing, don't we? So Michael, if you've got some people who are willing to do that, they could reach out to the.
Have a look at it, yeah.
Yeah.
Reach out to who?
Well, part of it's going to come from the climate action committee because there's around the climate resilience, right? So we get the climate action committee to help maybe with some of the language around that part of it.
I just I don't see the flexibility and the ability to respond quickly on this. We're saying that there's some urgency, and I have a suggestion is to put together a small task group to look at it and then farm it out to a grant writer. Potentially, I'm not sure where the climate action committee comes into this, other than calling on their expertise, which a grant writer may want.
This grant is all about climate resilience. Someone who's expertise about climate action, climate resilience.
Yes.
These one guy in the committee needs to help write this.
Yes.
Otherwise, you've got no chance of winning it. It's all about climate action, climate resilience.
Right.
So Michael, if you've got somebody who's willing to do that,
well, I don't.
Well, why don't you reach out to this somebody, show them the grant, right? Let them have a look at it, see if they think they can help.
and then they would reach out, I suppose, to the Climate Action Committee.
Well, I think first of all, we have to decide at some point is my idea of doing this drainage project the correct one. were other suggestions on the climate action on different projects. They wanted to do water. They thought maybe water pipeline projects might be better. And it's the idea to do the water.
Maybe get together with Norm.
Would that be? Are you suggesting that replacing of water lines would be creating?
I don't think so. There was a suggestion to the committee that would be a better place to spend our effort and our money. Nice seemed to think, well, we've tried that baby drip one so many times, it's probably time to give up on it. And I read the grant and I think, the water pipeline is not quite as strong. I think that
the
drainage thing is so obvious as true.
The torrential, the climate rivers or atmospheric rivers and so on are certainly getting people's attention.
So Michael, if you've got somebody who's willing to step up in terms of grant writing, we need to get them together with members of the Climate Action Committee.
In terms of climate resilience.
Right, and get
This is John.
get this going.
Yeah.
John Robb's looking at climate, others in the committee have chimed in, but yeah.
So perhaps we could have some discussion with the Climate Action Committee or determine who might be willing to step up, and then Michael can bring
It's largely going to be John.
okay, and then hook him up with John to see if we can get going on this. Does that work, Michael?
Yeah, I would like to suggest that two councillors, the CAO and NI get together to look at potential projects. And so we know what we're targeting here. I'm not suggesting a prolonged meeting. I'm suggesting that
All right, that'll initiate some action here.
Oh, we could do
Fine with that, Neville?
we could do both things, right? We could
So which two councillors want to step forward? Neville?
Yeah, I've already
Step forward, Michael.
had the discussion with Nye.
Okay, so why don't you and Michael step forward, speak with Nye?
well, I'm on the CIC, so should Michael, do you want to do it or should I do it with Neville and then you can reach out to whatever grant person you're thinking of?
I'll see if what I can come up with in terms of grant persons.
Okay, so Neville and I will then meet with Nye and you'll,
Well, I think you
Work on
probably
it,
with the CAO as well. You want to include
Yes.
Mr. Miller in this. Okay, let's move on. You guys,
so that's an action item?
your action item?
Yeah,
Okay,
okay, fair enough.
new business. I don't have anything on the list here. New business, we'll move right to public questions and comments.
One second, under new business, I think we had something come up there under resident correspondence or resident participation, and there's been some discussion about us holding a special council meeting for a particular purpose. And that is, of course, the elephant in the room, the thing that keeps coming up again. And that is as to the lawful proceedings.
And we've responded to that. Okay, so
If I could finish.
would you like to make a motion on that then?
Yes.
Speak to a motion?
Go ahead. Sorry, 1 second.
Please speak to a motion.
Wait, can I just, 1 second. There's no need for a motion. If two councillors want to have a special meeting, they tell the mayor to do it. He's got 24 hours to put it in place. If he doesn't, the CA has to call it after 48 hours. It's that simple. That's the procedure. Two councillors want a special meeting. There's no need for a motion. We can do it.
Okay, and review that again, because I'll review once again on the CAO's ability and it dates back to 2018 resolution, which gave the CAO. What is it that?
I'm not talking about that.
You're challenging the whole legitimacy of our CAO and staff. So what is the purpose of this?
I'm speaking solely to the procedure for councillors to call a special meeting. You say put a resolution for that. I'm just saying you don't need a resolution. That's where this is going. It's in the community charter. If two councillors want a special meeting, they send it to the mayor in writing by email. I've done this before. If he says no, they send it to the CAO and he has to call the meeting within 40 hours. So we could do that if we wanted. I'm just telling you that's how it works. Anyway, carry on as you were.
So I think we need to have this meeting and get this out of the way and have a discussion about it. So we can either call it now or we can go as.
I think you're gonna have to bring some further information that you seem to think overrides the regulations, the law. You keep pointing to things and yet
You want me to answer that? You want me to answer that, or should we get into it in a special council meeting? I mean, I can get into it in open, but you might not wish that to occur. So that's why I'm suggesting we have a closed council meeting to address this.
We've got a closed meeting right after this and we can address some of the things that were brought up earlier and that
What closed meeting is that?
we're gonna re-enter the closed meeting.
I think we need a special closed meeting for this purpose. So if I can get some agreement here at the table, we could set it up. Or we can go by the formal procedure.
Whatever you prefer.
Okay, so let's have a closed council meeting. And let's discuss here when we're going to do this here.
And again, I don't understand what you want to discuss in this closed meeting. Because once again, I think we should be discussing things in open. And we've had far too many closed meetings.
So why don't you put down what you want to discuss in the meeting?
What I want to discuss in the meeting.
So why don't you put down what you want to discuss in the meeting? I've described to you the process. If you want to have a special meeting, send the email and we do it.
Yeah, but do you want me to send it or put it out right now? Or state it right now?
Put it in writing, send it.
Writing, send it along. What?
It's simply as to I mean, can you publish legal opinions in the village update? Then they start circulating throughout the village. And it seems to be out there, which is the question of how it goes to the authority of a CAO to appoint a CFO. And we need to have a discussion about that.
So you're once again undermining our staff. You're killing the morale. Like, when do we get to the business of the village here?
You can
Instead of knocking down and destroying our staff.
And you can keep going on and on about this.
Well, Marcus,
but legality and proper process.
Obstructionist behavior.
No,
does not.
You're obstructing due process here. All right. And it must be said that if we don't operate lawfully, then we're out of order. And that contracts, hires, et cetera, are in jeopardy.
Yes, Councillor Brown.
Through the chair. There have been numerous requests for legal opinions, and legal opinions have been provided. And when those legal opinions have been provided, they have then been questioned. And how did it come that this person was requested or that person was requested? And my sense is that there will never be enough legal opinions. But one of the concerns I heard a resident speak of earlier this evening was, what are our legal costs? Who are all these lawyers? And why are these costs being generated? It's because we're being asked to provide legal opinions to support the support process. So I believe that the questions have been asked, the questions have been answered, and that we need to move forward. And so I'm quite concerned about holding a special meeting to do what? To decide that the legal opinions are being questioned.
Michael, just to be clear, I'm not questioning a legal opinion. I'm not questioning a legal opinion. I am stating that there's a legal opinion out there, which.
Do you understand what he's saying through the chair?
That's a process. There is a legal opinion out there, procured, not by me, but by Ron, apparently, and by you, Ken, which calls into question the authority of the acting CFO, /CAO, and that's something that we need to discuss.
So once again, you're challenging
procedure.
You're challenging our staff, you're berating them,
I am not berating them.
undermining
I'm simply asking that we operate law.
Our CAO has asked you to stop sending emails to them, okay? And you're under to staff
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about a legal opinion.
Mr. Miller, can
So
you
are we
explain
going to-
your request to council?
I think we're getting off track, and the orders of the day here are new business.
Okay, then let's move on. Let's
Well,
move on.
You've got an advisor you're talking to in 2 days. Why don't you ask him the questions?
Because that's not part of his agenda and his work. No, it's not.
He's been around for 30 years.
Yeah, but that's not part of his work and his agenda. He's got a different agenda and he's got something else. He may get to that sort of thing, but we need to have a special council meeting to address this.
This is exactly what he's been asked to come and work with council.
Have you looked at his agenda? It does not include that.
If you listen to him today, he said his agenda is up for further additions, edits. So feel free to put that on the agenda or suggest it to him and he'll bring it up. But he's brought here by the municipal affairs to help our community.
Correct.
Okay, we're looking to move forward, not put
We are
barriers
indeed.
up, not looking to attack our staff. We've already destroyed Anthony Tobin, who all four of us approved him and said, we want him as CAO. And then the next week and the next month, we attacked him until finally.
Can stop with this, stop with the propaganda.
Well, it's just,
It-
there has to come.
I'm asking that we have a special meeting to address.
And you
this.
put it in writing. and
Okay, so
request
I'm
it.
not going to get any agreement now to have a special meeting?
Not for me.
All right.
Okay, well, let's move to public questions, please, Maria. Before we run out of time.
Could I ask that we keep the questions are kept to 2 minutes?
Yes. Thank you.
I think it will help focus the discussion.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Okay, no questions. We'll
Not adjourn could be.
motion to
recess.
close the meeting and move into the closed portion of the meeting or back into the closed.
So moved.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye. Okay, please close off the meeting, Maria. We'll move into close.